I'm Chris Burgard. I directed The War and Truth, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this film and supporting us. It really means a lot. But I want to ask you, if this film moved you, if it inspired you to want to do something to help win this war and truth, I ask you to prayerfully consider paying this film forward. Share it with your family, with your friends, with your neighbors, with your congressmen, with your senators. That would be good. Help us to win this war and truth. Thank you, guys. God bless you.
It's gone wrong, America. It's gone way wrong, America. It breaks my heart to see her coming apart. It's gone, long gone, America.
I was at the Capitol on J6 with my wife Lisa, my daughter McKenna, and my good buddy Nick. And it was a really, really good day until it wasn't. We didn't know we'd end up making a movie about that day, but we did. Capital punishment. Everything they told you about J6 was a lie.
This is the most corrupt election in the history, maybe of the world.
I believe it was the most censored movie in America for the last year and a half. For me, things started to get a little Western on the way home. TSA got really friendly. But a year and a half later, it got way more serious when the FBI decided to come a quarter mile my ranch to say hello.
What is it you want to be talking about?
So, full disclosure, it's in relation to, we had somebody call in or a report regarding the Capital punishment movie. It was a really big tip.
Josh, you know my father
sense.
graduated from the 109th session of the FBI Academy, right?
I did, yeah. I think you did reference that in the movie.
And you've Googled me and you've seen what other projects I've done, correct?
Yes, sir. I sure have, yes, sir.
So I have no problem talking to you, Josh. Let me get you the number of my attorney so that he can be there when we speak. And I also want to record the full interview. So whether you want me to bring my guys to do it or if you want your guys to do it, it doesn't matter, just so long as nothing can be taken out of context.
I was willing to speak to the FBI, but after I got counsel, they went around my attorneys and they wanted to come in and answer questions without him.
Texas DPS CID has an office in Mount Pleasant, which isn't super far from you guys. And they have visual recording capabilities for interviews if that's something they're willing to do. I'll coordinate with them.
Did you reach out to Brian today at all?
I didn't yet because I figured I didn't want to make this too painful. So I don't think our conversation is going to take probably more than 5 or 10 minutes.
This isn't my first rodeo. I was not going to go in and speak to them without counsel. Sometimes the best defense is to go on offense. So I called my buddy Nick.
I came here on January 6th because I love this country and that's why I'm here now. And if you don't like it, you can kiss my ass. Bailiff, please handcuff Mr. Searcy and then bark at the hole.
best damn movie nobody ever saw. Hello.
I think we need to make a sequel.
You're out of your mind. You make a sequel to a movie nobody watched?
Dude, the FBI come to my house. They're putting a lot of pressure on me and my family, Nick. We got to do something here.
So your big strategy is to make another movie after the first one you made caused the FBI to come to your house?
Yeah, I think we need to go on offense.
Oh my God. I'm too old for this, Chris. No, look, I feel for you, man. I'm sorry it happened, but I don't know.
They're asking about you.
What are they asking?
Did I talk to you on January 6th? Where were you on January 6th? What kind of conversations were you and I having on January 6th?
I told you I didn't want to go there. You made me go. Did you tell them that?
Dude, my daughter asked me last night, should I put the dogs in my room because I don't want them shooting my dog, Dad?
I think she's right. I think she should put the dogs in her room. I mean, in case the FBI comes.
Nick, it's a lot of stress in my family, man.
Well, if it'll make them feel better, you can tell them that if, they arrest you or something, they can come up here and live with me. I mean, for a little while. We've got a 2-night rule. But they can stay here for a while, like a couple nights.
So you're not going to make the movie?
No, I'm not going to make it.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks a lot, buddy.
FBI, my ass. He probably made that up. I thought that was the end of it. But a few weeks later, I went to buy a roast for Christmas dinner in my new Christmas shoes. And I went to the best reviewed butcher shop in Tennessee. And this really nice young lady took great care of me. That night when I got home, I got a text from her. She said, Mr. Searcy, when you came in today, I thought your name sounded familiar, but I couldn't place you. And I talked to my husband. And my husband says, do you know who that is, don't you? That's the man who made Capital Punishment. And I said, wow, he's one of the 10 people that saw that movie. Where's your husband? And she said, he's in jail. He's been in the D.C. Gulag since August 17th of 2021. Over 500 days. And I said, okay, God, I guess you want me to make this movie.
My name is Sarah McAbee. My husband's Ronald Colton McAbee. He's a political prisoner from January 6th. He has been held without bond since August 17th of 2021.
When you told me that, that your husband had been in jail for so long, I said, well, this is God telling me I have to make this movie because I really didn't want to make it,
Yeah.
It's definitely a godsend. Why did your husband go on January 6th?
It's interesting. He's never been to a political rally before, never been to a Trump rally, but he believed in his heart that the election was stolen, and he wanted to go and voice his opinion as an American. It wasn't a very popular decision in this household. My husband was in a car accident 11 days prior to the 6th. He broke his shoulder, chipped his hip. He rolled his truck 12 times coming home from work. Definitely should have never made it out of there alive. He was a sheriff's deputy for 7 years. Oddly enough, he was on the other side of the wall for 7 years. Now the tables have turned.
How long have you known him?
We've been together for 14 years.
Middle school.
Yeah.
You're in the, really, 7th grade, 8th grade?
I was in 8th and he was in 9th, yes.
No kidding. Did y'all ever break up?
I mean, he says I chased him around for a while, but I think it's kind of the opposite.
Yeah, wow. That's a long time. So you know each other pretty well, I guess.
Yeah.
He's accused of assaulting a police officer. So what did he actually do on that day?
The same video evidence that the government's used to charge him with, exonerate him, if you would just turn on the audio. It's one of the things that they don't want to listen to is the audio. They'll play the videos and they will narrate the story. They won't play the audio because in the audio, he's communicating with these Metro and Capitol police officers saying, I'm helping you. I'm one of you. One of the officers agrees and says, help me up. At the same time, Roseanne Boylan was dying and he was trying to get to her to render medical aid. He gives her life-saving compressions. And then at the very end, the last video that you see him in, the officer is thanking him for his help that day.
Thank you.
Despite audio and video evidence showing former Tennessee Sheriff's Deputy Ronald Colton McAbee did not assault a police officer on the Capitol steps of January 6, as alleged by prosecutors, if you listen to the audio as you watch the video, you find out he was helping a Capitol policeman who was down.
Let go of your hood. I know, help me up. Let go of your hood. I know, help me up.
And yet this judge has the audacity to say we're not listening to the audio so he could hear that evidence. Why wouldn't you listen to the evidence?
Your husband tried to administer CPR to Roseanne Boylan.
Yes, he told the officer, it's in the videos, to stop hitting that girl. He asked Lila Morris to stop hitting her. She was already unconscious, laying on the ground, and she was beating her to death.
Why do you think they're so keen on holding your husband without bond?
Because he tried to save Roseanne's life. And he is one of the best credible witnesses for that case, if it were to ever be a case. They offered him a plea deal of 9 years, and he's like, I'm an innocent man. I know what I did that day, and everything they're accusing me of is false.
Any of the people that he worked with at the sheriff's office, have they come forward to say this is a good man?
They're not even allowed to talk to me.
The people at the sheriff's office are not allowed to speak to you?
Right. Their superiors have said to stay out of it, that if they talk to anyone or they talk to me, they're going to lose their job. It just really doesn't make any sense. I mean, to be able to keep our house and our vehicles and keep up with paying, I mean, I calculated not too long ago, I've spent over $150,000 between attorneys, feeding him, clothing him. I'm not some CEO or anything like that. I'm just your average person. So definitely trying to figure out how to make ends meet, doing everything. I feel like I work all the time just to be able to help him in this fight, because I think that's what they want, is they want to go after your wallet and they want to break you. I haven't seen my husband in 2 years.
You're not allowed to visit him?
Not allowed to visit.
Is that typical?
No, that's what he says too. He's like, I did visitation in the Tennessee state prison system where these people are charged with murder and molestation and rape, really bad charges, and they're convicted. These men aren't even convicted, and they're not allowed visitation. These guys who are fathers, like, they haven't seen their kids, they've missed milestones, weddings, birthdays, births of grandchildren, and only by the grace of God, I think these guys are going to be okay.
Do you find that your faith has kind of sustained you in a way?
Oh, absolutely. Once he had gotten to D.C., these men are normal men. I mean, the best way I explain it to people is like, you go to church, pick row number 19, every single one of y'all are going to be thrown into the D.C. DOC, because you have every walk of life. You have car salesmen, you have blue-collar workers, white-collar workers, people who own businesses, you have previous criminals, people who have never been to jail before. And so he is now taking over like a Bible study for these normal inmates, you know, and he's like, I have to be a light where I can be a light.
So in some ways, it's like a mission for him, become a mission trip.
He feels like the Lord has provided for us. That's a big thing, that he's like, you know, I'm supposed to be the man of the house, and you've had to pick up odds and ends jobs, and you've had to do this, and you've had to do that. Like, I can't provide for my family like I want to, but I feel like there's something bigger here at play, and I need to do what I can do.
That kind of strength is just, it's hard to fathom, except that it comes from God.
Only by the grace of God. People are like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't do it on my own. Every day I wake up and I'm like, Lord, just give me the strength to get through today, because that's how often things change.
You have reached the Williamson County Sheriff's Office.
I'm a documentary filmmaker,
and I am making a film about January 6 defendants. And one of the January 6 defendants is a man named Colt Maccabee, who used to be a sheriff's deputy there. And I was just wondering if I could talk to somebody there about what kind of a person he was, just kind of get a sense of his character sort of thing. Hello? It's a climate of fear that's being deliberately instilled. These people who worked with that man are afraid to talk about him because they're afraid of what the government might do to them.
After speaking with Sarah, it was obvious we needed to know how many other lives were being destroyed and what other truths are being hidden in the name of this supposed insurrection. I've played a few sheriffs in my career, and I've led my share of posses. For this movie, we rounded up a posse of eyewitnesses, attorney generals, lawyers, doctors, military psychological operation officers, retired generals, special forces officers, U.S. intelligence operators and contractors, journalists, pastors, former and present congressmen, former FBI agents and Capitol Police, video experts, whistleblowers, and victims who are all dedicated to bringing the truth about January 6th to light, no matter what the cost.
They were threatening to take away my medical license. And I know they would have also threatened to take away my law license.
619 days they held me. They would not release me. They said, I am a danger to society.
I was thrown in jail. First time in the history of the United States an American officer was imprisoned by a Justice Department for a housing forum.
So as a result of all these investigations that I've done, I've been investigated myself at a minimum 10 different entities within our federal government.
They used the reasoning that I wore a MAGA hat, and they suspended me on January the 9th.
The Justice Department Inspector General went and got a warrant to raid my house.
I look outside and there's a SWAT team surrounding my house, coming down the steps.
Every time I go testify in one of these cases, they remind me that I could be charged with criminal charges for being there.
He said they're going to charge you with interstate racketeering. Exactly my reaction.
Everyone kind of has this mistaken belief that you can request whistleblower status and then it gives you this shield of protection. And what happens in reality when you go and stand up against the government is you give information to the protected source and then they crush your career.
I've lived it, I've experienced it. And what we're looking at is we're looking at fear.
When the United States government comes at you with everything they have, it can be very intimidating.
For me, the scariest thing aren't the people saying horrible things to me, it's when the FBI came to my house.
The Capitol Police were coming after me. They conducted a criminal investigation on me because of my position on January 6th.
The fact that the FBI is calling on people for making films as potential terrorists just shows how bad the situation is.
Why did the FBI show up on my ranch?
Because you're a threat to what they're trying to accomplish. You're a threat to the narrative. You have to protect the narrative at all costs. I worked with guys in Treasury, and we would always talk about counterfeits, just funny stories. I asked them one time, how do you know a $100 bill is counterfeit? Tell me how. And they said, well, you have to compare it to the original. If I know what an original $100 bill looks like, then I can see the counterfeit. That's why they won't show you the tape from January 6th. If you could see the tape from January 6th, you would see that it wasn't an insurrection. You would compare it to the mostly peaceful protests where they were massively violent riots.
I want to be clear in how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not generally speaking unruly, but fires have been started.
No justice, no peace.
If people aren't going to listen when it's peaceful, then maybe they'll listen when something like this happens.
And then you would compare the counterfeit, the January 6th narrative, and the American people would look at that if you had an honest media and say, well, that's not a riot.
The whole thing falls apart.
The whole thing falls apart. Your film is not a threat kinetically. Your film is a threat to the warfare that they're using.
In deception operations, you have to clearly identify the target, okay? So now let's put it into the perspective of January 6th. Who's the target? Who's the target in this big deception? It's the American people. It's the psyche of the American people to put fear into regular old, Americans.
The worst thing about prison is the sentencing. Not knowing whether you're going to go to jail or not.
2 years ago, I interviewed Easton Cantwell, An Army veteran accused on January 6th of trespassing. He lost his business, his job, and since then a hell of a lot of weight.
It took them almost 2 years to sentence me, and they rescheduled sentencing multiple times. They rescheduled, the guilty hearing, the plea hearing multiple times for whatever their reasons may be. We need more time. I had to get Moose here because my anxiety was like so high. In the military, I trained to do special forces, Green Beret. I remember our 32-mile ruck march where I was delirious and seeing things that weren't there because of lack of water and exhaustion and overheating. But I've never passed out from it. I started thinking about my case and I was about to start going and I literally had to leave. I started feeling sick and it was a feeling I'd never had, and I'm just walking and I pass out. My anxiety got so high that I literally passed out from it. Never had that problem before.
What do you think is going to happen to you when you go in, and how is it going to affect your lives for the next 5 months?
Well, I think it's going to affect her more than it is me, honestly. If she told him that she was dating me, it'd be not only would she lose all her business, but she'd never be able to work anywhere again.
Right.
How would we bounce back from both of us?
Yeah.
We'd have to move completely from the area.
You'd like to
change
have to
our
go into the
names.
Witness protection.
Yeah, which they're not going to give us. There's a reason why the federal government has a 98% conviction rate. It's plea deals. Plea deals should not be a legal thing in this country because the government can just trump up a bunch of charges. You may not even be guilty of it all. Hey, you're going to give you life if you don't do what we say. Okay, so you're either stuck between this rock or, the very other hard place of taking the felony plea deal. It had to have been said that I was doing it for the reason of obstructing Congress. That's what they made me plead to. I had no choice. I couldn't give the real reason. I admitted, yes, I did say that. And I was willing to plea deal to that. But that wasn't good enough. I also had to be saying it for the reasons they wanted me to say it. The Justice Department wants a win on January 6th. They want validation that what they're saying was true, and they want the public to know it. Because without that validation that we got convicted of something, it didn't really happen like they say, and people would question it. I thought we always thought the purpose of prison was to teach somebody a lesson. What lesson are you going to teach me? Not to go up to the Capitol again when there's a protest? I don't feel free anymore, and that's the ultimate thing that it has done to me personally. I'm the guy who has the Constitution on his arm and his military stuff. I'm the guy who flies the flag out front. And for you to make me question wanting to even live here anymore? How do you fix something so broken? It is not the free America that I grew up with the impression of.
This is ridiculous. Sending a man like Easton to a place like this. Guy who's never been arrested for anything before. This is just... it's sickening. The whole thing is sickening.
What were conditions like in the DC jail?
Wow. Horrible. Body fluids, feces, you name it, in the cells. You couldn't drink the water out of the faucets because the amount of mold, like sheets of mold, like leaf-side sheets.
Also, if anyone on the outside stood up and said, hey, the water's bad, their food's being poisoned, any of this brought to the attention of the American people, that's when they retaliated on these guys.
We had multiple weekends where they shut our water off. Now, as you can imagine, then toilets don't flush. And you read that U.S. Marshal's report about standing feces and that. And it was always on the weekend. We'd complain and they would say, oh, there was a pipe broke or something like that.
Or they shut the phones off.
They shut the phones off, take our tablets away, shut the tablets off. There was all kinds of retribution in there.
Tragically, he was assaulted, both physically and sexually, by 5 guards.
The DC Gulag guards assaulted a U.S. Army Ranger sexually.
I would tell you that it's a horrific situation what occurred, and it should be all over the media. But unfortunately, I don't think people know what happened to my son. His attorney and a guard, from what I'm understanding, had some sort of an issue, and the attorney said, I'm not leaving until I speak to a supervisor. When the attorney left, Robert was strip searched in a black colored room, and so he's naked, 5 guards, one of them female with a cell phone, and they physically and sexually assaulted him.
I was an airborne ranger in 2nd Ranger Battalion with 3 combat deployments. Finished out my contract honorably with the Army. I have been incarcerated now for almost 2 years. And I also know that there's a lot of people that believe in me that I'm not going to let down. So I'm getting sentenced in less than 20 days. And I've done everything I can to honor my mother, my father, my fellow brothers and sisters that served in the military with me, and everyone that's out there supporting the January 6ers. You guys are on my mind day in and day out because you guys have a right not to be let down. My game plan was to retaliate with the right hook of integrity. So they can say what they want, but I will shame my enemies with my character, and that's what I'm going to do, not only until I get sentenced, but after that and then some.
Have you been assaulted while you were in prison?
There was a moment in the D.C. jail where I had an awful experience with officers Armstrong and Taylor. Salacious and something I won't forget, but with the power of Christ, you can forgive. So I intend to do both.
It was quite graphic and absolutely unacceptable to happen to anybody. And if they're doing it to my son, they're doing it to other people's sons or daughters. And I feel like it needs to be exposed. People need to know this is happening in our prison system, and people need to be accountable.
I have an article here from CNN in January 2022 calling the January 6th investigation the biggest investigation in FBI history. And what shocks me about this, quite honestly, is that you don't mention January 6th. Again, the biggest investigation, not one time in your 14-page testimony. You don't mention it one time. And that makes me ask myself the question, what the hell are you hiding?
We have not to date seen any evidence of anarchist violent extremists or people subscribing to Antifa in connection with the 6th. That doesn't mean we're not looking, and we'll continue to look, but at the moment we have not seen that.
She sprayed and they tried to arrest me.
They tried to fucking arrest me. Sorry, I tried to change.
There's no way with language like that police knows. I put my money on they were saying anything. Yeah.
Suspect.
Antifa! Antifa! Those guys are Antifa, trying to get us to attack you guys. That's not us. We love you, man.
Look at this. Tell me this ain't the most Antifa outfit you've seen in your life. This is literally what I wear to every single protest and riot when I riot.
I'll give you your hug now. We did it. You were right. We did it.
Dude, I was trying to tell you. I couldn't say much.
You were right.
Is this not gonna be the best film you've ever made in your life? Let me through. I got a knife. I got a knife.
Based on your investigation so far, do you have any evidence that the Capitol attack was organized by, quote, fake Trump protesters?
We have not seen evidence of that at this stage, certainly.
I just left the protest at the Capitol building, and I got a big bruise on my leg. I had a difficult time pulling off the act that I was paid to do. And I'm making this video because I want to confess that I was paid to pretend to protest today. I can't say by who, but I will just say that it's a organized effort.
This was a staged Antifa setup. The media's in on it. The police were in on it.
We got more people coming up. Let's get them down here in the black.
Antifa was disguised as Trump supporters today. So Antifa wasn't walking around like they typically are, all dressed in black with their anti-fascist symbolism and their shield. Like, they were disguised as Trump people, and they were the ones who really led the charge.
As I was just kind of, taking pictures of my phone, reaching out to see what everything looked like, that man right there, I recognized him from multiple rallies I've done here in LA. That's Chad Loder. Chad Loder is known as like the head of the Antifa here in Southern California.
Well, Christopher Wray said there was no evidence of any Antifa being there. Maybe we should call Christopher Wray and tell him right there. Chad Loder, Director Wray, Antifa.
This is the Washington field office.
I'm just calling because I'd like to schedule maybe an appointment with Christopher Wray.
Yeah, I cannot transfer the public to the director.
Okay.
Okay, you have a good night.
You too, sir.
Did Christopher Wray lie to Congress?
Yeah.
Is that a felony?
Yeah.
Is anyone going to arrest him or investigate that?
Absolutely not.
Christopher Wray, when testifying in Congress, has committed what's known as a Section 1001 violation of Title 18 U.S. Code. That is lying to Congress. If I were the Sergeant at Arms in the House, the next time that he came in and testified, I would expect the Speaker of the House and the Chair of the Judiciary or Weaponization or whoever he's testifying before to immediately contact me to arrest Christopher Wray and detain him inside of the U.S. House until further notice.
He made a false report to Congress and should be prosecuted for it.
So why do they lie? It's because if you make the lie big enough and you tell the lie often enough, it becomes the truth. And that's what they're trying to do. This is a war on truth.
The Holy Spirit has a title called the Spirit of Truth. And persecution is mankind wandering from truth and doubling down on lies. They'll exchange the truth for a lie, as it says in Romans. And so you have this world that despises truth. And an awakening and a revival is where mankind is brought into a place of reality, where God visits, and it shakes everything up. Because to say that there's more than two genders, that's under attack. To say that a child in the womb is not a human being, that's an attack on truth. So it's persecution of truth, which Christians are supposed to be image bearers of God, and Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father but by me. So yes, it is persecution, but it's a hatred for truth.
Patriots, my name is Dr. Simone Gold. I'm a board-certified emergency physician, Stanford University educated attorney, and the founder of America's Frontline Doctors.
When I got arrested for J6, I couldn't open bank accounts. They kind of closed my bank accounts. I couldn't fly. The extrajudicial punishment that I've endured is enormous.
I and my organization Walkaway were permanently banned by PayPal, Venmo, Stripe, Patreon, MailChimp, Constant Contact. It was an annihilation. My career was literally destroyed entirely. As soon as I got out of the first 4 days in prison, I found that everything I built professionally was erased in a matter of days.
I didn't realize what I was being portrayed as in jail. But when I got out and started researching myself, it was like, holy cow. I was being called a Nazi and white supremacist, cop killer. I had multiple businesses and whatnot, so I ended up losing it all. We had to close it up, and I'm being sued for $10 million now. And within that $10 million, they're defaming my name. They're saying I did something I didn't do. They're saying I assaulted officers I didn't do.
Some of the things I lost was the career that I had in the industry, people that I considered friends, some people I considered family members, like that close relationship, my computer, my cell phone, my agent, my manager, my MAGA hats.
I started Patriot Street Fighter 2020, 1 week after the election when they stole it, and never podcasted in my life. And then it just blew up. They said, look, you got 22 million followers. It's rapidly climbing. So YouTube has taken down 37 of my channels.
My friends encouraged me to record my testimonies for my kids because they hadn't heard 20 years worth of amazing God intervention in my life. So on January 6th, coincidentally, I decided on the ride down to start recording those testimonies. Shortly thereafter, the IRS seized my bank accounts and levied all of my accounts receivable.
What am I being arrested for, gentlemen?
It's trespassing for up at the Capitol. Is what it. We're not.
I was trespassing on the Capitol?
Behind the barriers and stuff like that.
No.
No, I wasn't.
Okay. That's what the charge. Well, I'm going to read you a search warrant.
I violated no barriers. I broke no barriers. I cooperated with law enforcement. You guys notice I have video evidence of this. Yeah. Come on, guys. You know what's going on here.
Jeremy joined the Oath Keepers. 1 month later, there was a knock on our door by two agents looking for Jeremy. And they said they just wanted to talk to him basically about something he had posted online. And when he agreed to meet them, he said, I will be audio taping this conversation. And they said, that's fine. And in that conversation, they tried to recruit Jeremy to be a confidential informant and spy on the American people.
And someone's like, hey, we're training tonight and tomorrow some shit's going to go down. You calling us and letting us know, and we can prevent the next big thing. We'd love to hear from you. And if we can, and again, I can't make any promises, but like, if you provide information that prevents something big, the government pays for that.
Why would the FBI come to someone like Jeremy and ask him to infiltrate an organization and spy on his fellow Americans?
If I had to guess, because of his training and his background as a 20-year retired Special Forces soldier, 3 years as a Ranger and 17 years as a Green Beret.
Is he used to leading men?
Absolutely. Jeremy has 2 Bronze Stars.
So he's not just a veteran.
He is a warrior. He loves this country, and he will fight till his death for the American people, and he will uphold that oath that he took. So Jeremy went to DC with the Oath Keepers on a security detail. So he was assigned to walk one of the speaker's mothers from her hotel to the permitted rally, the Stop the Steal rally. He never went into the Capitol building at all. In fact, there's video of Jeremy saving a woman's life. An elderly lady was being trampled on. He picks this lady up, and I mean, she's bright red, her hair is on her face, and he has to escort her away, but he saved her life that day.
When did the FBI first come to you and raid your house?
September.
Do you have keys to the house? Because I don't want to have to break the door.
No, we have a code to our house.
Can you provide me the code to the house?
Where's the warrant? You're going to give me a warrant before you ask me for a code to my house.
That's not how this works.
That's how it works.
I don't have to.
You do have to show me a warrant before you go into my house.
I'll provide you one if you're
okay.
If you
provide
work
it
with us. The person who has the warrant is on their way.
Okay. Well, when they get here, we'll go into the house. No problem.
It's not how this works.
That is how it works.
Oh, here we got it.
The warrant's not on you, and it's not being presented to me before you go into my house.
Ma'am, we don't want to have to detain you.
But I want to see what you're going to take, and it's got to be written on the warrant.
It is.
Okay, but I want to see it before you touch anything in the house. That is how it works.
So ultimately, another team did show up with a search warrant. They allegedly, according to them, found grenades in a vest next to our bed, 2 grenades.
And planted them.
Where do you think those grenades came from, Lisa?
The FBI.
They came back approximately 3 months later, December. Meredith was here to take carpet samples from 2 bedrooms and the RV.
That whole search there were some shocking pieces to it. I expressed some concern because there were multiple agents outside, and of course they're armed, and there have been multiple accounts of officers, finding a dog to be threatening, and since mine were large, I was concerned. So I expressed that concern as we were, busy kind of getting our 2 toddlers out of the house so that they could lock everyone out. We'd stand outside. One of the agents, Special Agent Katie Hill, turned and she heard me expressing concern about the dogs, and she said she should be more concerned about what we do to her kids. I was shocked.
Why would a federal agent threaten your children?
I have no idea. It was so shocking to me. The level of animosity, right? I mean, you expect a level of professionalism within law enforcement or the FBI. You don't expect for them to take it so personally that a third party that's visiting a friend would have her children threatened for simply being here. So when we came back in the house, we walked in, and thank goodness that we looked at where they had been before we let the children and dogs walk back in the house. because wherever they had taken carpet samples, they left broken razor blades on the floor and on the dog bed that was in the room that I was staying in.
And she knew your children were barefoot because they were.
She saw us take them out. They were barefoot in diapers. I mean, they weren't even dressed.
There was no evidence of DNA, no dog hair, no carpet samples. And the jury, I think, said, okay, there's nothing there. But at the very end of his trial, they played a jail call between Jeremy and I, and it was the first phone call after he had been arrested. I started reading off the list of seized items, and I said, you know, they took guns, they took grenades, and then the phone goes silent. And so that's what they play in court. The phone disconnected. So they played it in court to make it look like Jeremy just didn't react, like, oh, grenades, no big
So
deal.
they didn't play the rest of the conversation.
No.
We're
And
seeing
then-
that over and over.
And then when we do actually go back and listen to the real conversation, once he and I had it, the first thing he said was bullshit.
Was that presented in court?
No. So Jeremy was sentenced to 87 months, which is 7.25 years, and he's already served 18 months.
You think you'll come home and you'll have him home again?
I'm hoping so. I'm worried that I might not get to see him again or give him a hug.
Why?
I'm afraid my heart's gonna give out. My heart's broken. I've lost one child and I don't want to lose another. Jeremy's my firstborn. And it's just hard to think that this country would do this to him. I didn't think he had to come home and fight his own country to get the truth out, and people just, for some reason, don't want to listen. You know, and they don't want to open their eyes.
What would you tell other moms out there? They're saying they're going to arrest at least 1,000 more J6ers. What would you say to other moms, other families?
Stay strong. Stay as strong as you can, because your child needs you.
I can't imagine what he's going through after spending 20 years serving his country so peacefully. The U.S. government spent millions of dollars training Jeremy how to run a counterinsurgency, how to defeat a counterinsurgency. Now that's what they put him in prison for. It's just sad.
You are receiving a call from the Pinellas County Jail that is subject to monitoring and recording.
Hello?
Jeremy,
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak, sir.
how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right.
How'd you feel after the sentencing?
I felt vindicated. I mean, this is what I've been telling everybody behind the scenes and in public, that this is a setup, and the setup will be complete without a false conviction and a overly harsh sentence.
On the Obama administration, DHS Secretary Napolitano put out these fusion reports, and in these fusion reports, she basically said the three most dangerous things to the security of the United States of America was pro-secure border enthusiasts, pro-life activists, and returning veterans. And it sounded crazy back then, but I got to tell you, Jeremy, the interview after interview after interview, mostly what we're filming are returning Christian veterans.
Do you want to know why that is?
Yes.
Because the armed American veteran is the largest military force on the planet. The armed American citizen is a much larger defense force. You see, there's a difference between an armed American citizen and an armed American veteran. You see, an armed American veteran has been highly trained. In many cases, like myself, specially selected and highly trained. This is why they don't want that surveillance footage to be released, because it will reveal exactly what I and many other people who were there that day have been saying since the very beginning, that what they're telling us is a lie.
We need to go to the Capitol and drag those people out of power.
Our FBI is totally corrupt. The same statement that FBI agents right now are making on the record in front of Congress.
I'm sad, I'm disappointed, and I'm angry that I have to be here to testify about the weaponization of the FBI and DOJ. Weaponization against not only its own employees, but against those institutions and individuals that are supposed to protect the American people. In weaponized fashion, the FBI allowed me to accept orders to a new position halfway across the country. They allowed us to sell my family's home. They ordered me to report to the new unit when our youngest daughter was 2 weeks old. Then, on my first day on the new assignment, they suspended me, rendering my family homeless. They refused to release our goods, including our clothes, for weeks. All I wanted to do was serve my country by stopping bad guys and protecting the innocent. To my chagrin, bad guys have begun running parts of the government, making it difficult to continue to serve this nation and protect the innocent. I'm here today because even though I am wrongfully suspended from the FBI, I remain duty-bound to the American people to play my small role in rectifying these issues. After all, I never swore an oath to the FBI. I swore an oath to the Constitution.
So you would legitimately try to protect one of your colleagues from doing what you have done?
Absolutely.
And how do you think that solves being able to shine light on corruption, weaponization, any kind of misconduct that exists with the American people?
It doesn't solve it, but the FBI will crush you. This government will crush you and your family if you try to expose the truth about things that they are doing that are wrong. And we are all examples of that.
What they did is they pulled our security clearances instead of actually going after us through a real administrative process saying, hey, you've done something worthy of discipline. What they said is, you are not worthy of a security clearance because the United States government has gone through the process since 1989. It was a case called Navy versus Egan, and they found out that they were able to pull security clearances without any oversight or review. And when you're an FBI employee, the security clearance is an underlying requirement for your job. If you don't have a security clearance, you don't have a job.
During training, we go to the Holocaust Memorial Museum, and we go to the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial. And it's all done in one day. And the point of that trip is to really zero in on the fact that genocide and civil rights abuses and atrocities can only occur if the police and law enforcement becomes an apparatchik of an out-of-control government and is willing to be oppressive to the citizenry. And it only takes a small number to stand up and ring the alarm bell. And it's incumbent on you as a new, freshly minted part of the FBI to take that stand if you ever see us heading in that direction, which is what I did. And the consequences of that, and even pointing to that specific training when I brought my complaint forward, the response to that was, you need to be escorted out of the building.
The FBI as a political weapon, its loyalties were not to the Constitution or the United States. Their loyalties were to a party. This misbehavior, this misconduct, this unconstitutional rage and sickness that fills the FBI and the State Department, it's not going to end soon.
The FBI sets up anybody that it needs to in order to create terrorist cases because there's a ton of money involved in it. If you find somebody who agrees with all your worst ideas, and they're willing to encourage them, and they're willing to help you do them for the exact amount of money that you happen to have, whenever you meet that person, that's a Fed. That's what they are. And they're incentivized to create terrorist plans because there is not enough terrorism in this country to facilitate the budget that we have built up. The amount of money that they get funded just for the casework for international terrorism is $300+ million. On a $10 billion budget, you're talking about $1/3 of $1 billion. The reason that they have to do this is because the senior executive service that runs each individual field office, all these people get bonuses, and there are like 5-figure bonuses for hitting metrics. That's stats-based policing. It's incredibly dangerous. It's like quota-based, writing tickets. Right.
If we're interested in the number and not in the performance of the actual duty, then you stray away from the mission. We have an apparatus that is run out of the thing that it was created to do, and the only thing government does is it has to continue. It can't not continue. We can't not have a domestic terrorist problem. It goes, Chris is a really bad guy. Why is he a really bad guy? Well, he said something, and then we went and we introduced a source to him, and the source helped him get a gun and some explosives and a truck and a plan and a blueprint, and then you end up with 4 of the people in the Gretchen Whitmer vehicle to go do recon. 4 of them are feds of the 6.
The plot was uncovered 2 years ago after undercover FBI agents and informants spent months infiltrating the group. Joe Morrison now set to serve 10 years in prison. His father-in-law, Pete Musico, sentenced to 12 years, and Paul Ballar ordered to serve 7 years. And though none had a direct role in the Whitmer conspiracy, prosecutors say they did weapons training alongside an alleged ringleader who's now facing federal charges.
I was on the Whitmer takedown. Oh, wow. They were trained by undercovers and informants that facilitated it. They gave them the equipment they needed, they drove them, gave them transportation, they paid for their lodging to attend these trainings. And the reason that their tactics looked so good and near peer to the FBI was they were essentially FBI tactics.
There's more feds and Fed, informants than there are people who are actually doing the plot, because the plot doesn't exist without the feds. They are the requirement of it. But guess what? They get terrorism stats. So they can get 397 terrorism disruptions, so somebody can go get a $25,000 bonus at the end of the year.
So the FBI is turning regular Americans to terrorists so they can make more money.
They're classifying them, they are manufacturing the cases, they are encouraging it. There's a great meme that I have, and it was shared with me by an FBI agent, and I share it with other FBI guys, and it's a classic joke among us. It's terrible. It is a FBI agent wearing a raid jacket, a suit and a tie, and he's pointing a gun, and it says, when the FBI finds out who's causing all the terrorism in America, and he's pointing a gun at the J. Edgar Hoover building. It's funny, except when it's true.
They'll take pieces of evidence, and they will so dishonestly misrepresent what it is and what's actually happening. So for example, they tried to describe me as someone that was angry and hating the police and disrespectful of them, specifically on that day. So they freeze frame a video and they show a picture of me with my hand in the air like this. And the prosecutor says to the jury, look at this guy, how terrible he is. And I'm thinking, did they just do that? Wait, go back. Can you press play on that picture? Because that's actually a video. So then if you press play on the video and you start before and after that moment, I'm clapping and saying, thank you, thank you.
So they took the fist bump in between you saying thank you and put that on the screen.
And put that on there and said that I was angry and hating on cops, when not only was I not doing that, I was in the moment of doing the exact opposite.
They wouldn't let you present evidence that they had.
Yeah, and they wouldn't allow us to see evidence that existed, which by definition is illegal.
They twisted everything. Even in the court, the prosecutor took earlier clips when things were really chaotic and people were just pushing, and I'm in the middle of a group of people and I've got my arm up, which is keeping things from hitting me in the head, and we're being pushed back and forth, and they're saying that I'm shouting with, yeah, you're pushing and shoving. My arm is up in the air. How am I pushing on anything? You can clearly see.
One of my constituents called and I talked to her. She was not in Washington on January 6th. She was in Kilgore, Texas working. Her nephew sent her a text message. He was looking at the FBI website, people they were looking for, and he saw a picture that looked like his aunt.
Right.
And so he sent her the picture, and she says, OMG, that looks like me. Don't turn me in, LOL.
Right.
And they got a laugh out of it because she was in Kilgore and he knew that. A couple days later, 2 FBI agents show up at her place of business demanding to know where she was. Wow. The only reason they would have done that is if they were combing through text messages of individual Americans who had done nothing wrong. There was no probable cause whatsoever. And they even threatened her boss. Where was she on January 6th? She was here working. We can put you in prison for trying to protect your employee. Well, he wasn't, she wasn't. They were the ones that were violating rights by being there. It's just outrageous. We've got to get our freedom back. And Merrick Garland is taking us down the Gestapo road to hell.
Is there any way that the House could just say to the FBI, we're not going to fund you, you get $1 until you stop doing this?
Oh, we can. We do have the power of the purse. And we should, Nick. That includes the DOJ as well.
Absolutely.
The FBI wants this big building, hundreds of millions of dollars for a big building. You ain't getting your building. Get your house in order and stop using it as a weapon against the American people. The FBI should be out there focused on individuals that are committing crimes against children on the internet, going after sexual predators. I had an opportunity to talk to Director Wray about this in the judiciary hearing. How many FBI agents and support personnel have you assigned to the January 6th investigation?
I don't know that I know the number. I know we have a lot of people working on it in multiple field
Fair
offices.
enough, lots. Knowing that you are dealing with some of the sickest people in our society with investigations related to child sex trafficking, have you reassigned any of these agents or personnel to investigate January 6th? Yes or no?
I don't believe we have reassigned people away from child exploitation to January 6th.
I was transferred over, actually raised the concern about the child pornography cases that I had opened and then also was going to continue to look into, and my assistant special agent in charge at the time said that those were going to be local issues, no longer resourced, and that I would need to focus on domestic terrorism.
And then you were transferred to go on J6ers?
Yeah.
So to be clear, the FBI moved you off a pedophile task force to a January 6th task force?
Yes. When I made my first disclosure, my boss said, Steve, I can't have you object to doing this because we're going to get another wave of these January 6th arrests coming out. And as we're learning, there's going to be another 1,000 people charged with crime.
Am I in that list of the next 1,000 people, do you think?
Yes. Yes.
So what I'm hearing you say is, as bad as the arrests of the wave of January 6ers has been, where it's been hundreds of people, they're just getting started. We're going to be looking at this wave is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
They've made the decision that they're going to be assigning 30 brand new agents fresh out of Quantico on graduation from the FBI Academy, full-time task force, January 6 cases. So people who are on probation that can be fired for any reason, so they will be very submissive and do what they are told to do, are going to be swearing out warrants on the upcoming wave that we will see.
So you're saying their whole mission is changing from protecting America to just going after MAGA people?
You're looking at a 5'2" crippled chick and a preacher, and we're assaulting police officers. You know?
we're domestic terrorists here.
So I'm coming down my handicap ramp, got my hands up, my phone in hand, and I'm swerving around the battering ram, and I hear a flashbang grenade go off. They throw another one.
When I asked them why did they do that, they said Washington told them to do it this way. Well, what we found out is that every J6er they arrest gets at least one flashbang.
It's symbolism. If you think about it, they're accusing us of attacking them. I believe that was their symbolism to give back what they're claiming we gave them.
It all goes to, I can't remember the clown's name, but one of his press conferences very early on about arresting all of these disabled grandmothers, that he's gonna shock and awe by throwing the flashbang grenades, by having the big presence of the SWAT teams and stuff. They wanna make sure that everybody knows that if you get out of line, that they're gonna come after you in a big way.
The punishment is the process. My job, from my perspective, is to protect the innocent from the bully. The FBI has become the bully, then I need to stand up against that. Why are we using a tactical team, even if it's a felony? The person has told us that he will cooperate with us. And we're gonna reward that 2 years later by sending a bearcat into his front yard at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's not what I signed up to do, and I'm a guy who was on SWAT. I did SWAT for 5 years. As a whistleblower, you bring forward concerns about waste, fraud, abuse, or unnecessary risk to the public or to the personnel. And that, to me, was easily the next Ruby Ridge, Waco scenario waiting to happen, because how easy is it for us to roll up on somebody during hunting season and they happen to be coming back from a hunting trip and they're armed.
The alarm went off, they busted down the gate. She hollers it's a vehicle. I look over and there's a white Suburban, no lights, no red and blue lights, nothing, no markings. I catch it right about here and I follow it. It's doing about 30, 40 miles an hour. For whatever reason, I turned and here comes a SWAT vehicle, the Bearcat. It come pulling right up here. That thing is maybe 10 feet from my face. All these guys jump out with lasers, say, FBI, drop your weapon. Say, show me a warrant. That went on 3 times. They throw a flashbang right here. My finger's still off the trigger. The gun is just like this, no threat. Another flashbang. They get louder, they throw a smoke grenade, and there's lasers from every direction. And I'm just standing there. I can't go anywhere, I don't have any shoes on. I hear them tell her, come out with your hands up. Well, she had called the neighbor, I didn't know this, and it went to voicemail, so she's got all this recorded.
Walk this way, walk this way. Keep coming. Keep coming.
Why aren't you going after him legal?
Drop the phone. Just drop it on the ground. Put it on the ground. Drop it on the ground. Other hand behind your back. We have a legal warrant to be here.
Oh, crap.
Is there anybody else in the house? As you're losing that cup, don't do anything.
Come on, man.
You think I'm stupid? You are not under arrest. You understand that? You're not under arrest. You're going to get it. We're going to take you down. We're going to take you to the table. Oh, Lord. I'm going to walk.
If you were a bad guy, what could have happened?
These are armor-piercing rounds because we live in the country with all the border crossings, illegal crossings, and we've been up against Antifa, BLM. I could have shot the car several times. This is what really irritates me about the whole thing, is I could have killed somebody because they didn't identify themselves.
You were this close to being in a shooting match with the FBI.
Absolutely, you know, and not knowing it was FBI.
If they would have identified themselves before they breached your property, would you have come out with a weapon?
No, sir.
Absolutely not.
To fast forward, this was not a no-knock warrant. It says they could contact us by phone or any electronic device, and they didn't even show me the warrant, and I asked for it every 30 minutes. They left it on the couch.
How can you tell the difference between an SUV full of unannounced law enforcement officers and an SUV full of cartel members?
You can't. You can't.
So it was your restraint that actually maybe saved lives that day?
Yes, sir. I think the training saved my life.
How lucky is that guy that they weren't shot? I mean, were they stupid or were they trying to provoke you guys?
I know for a fact there were a couple of them that were itching, you know, for me to do something, and it wasn't going to happen. They say I assaulted a federal officer. I did not. I didn't touch anybody. They never asked me any questions about that, except they showed me a fuzzy picture of somebody and made me sign something with the threat of 7 years in prison if I lied. Initially it's saying it was not me, and then reminded me again, 7 years in prison if I lied during this interview.
When they showed me the picture, I was almost speechless because I thought, this is what all of this is about? This is the only proof that they gave the judge who signed off on our warrant? I was incredulous.
It could have ended real bad. I know I would not be here, but again, I'm thinking at least one of them would not be. Between both of us, we have 9 grandkids. Now, think about this. My grandkids would have to live with their granddad killed an FBI agent. You know, and that's the way it would have been said. They wouldn't have said that they came in without any kind of markings or whatever.
It's okay.
Sorry, talk about a come to Jesus moment, man. He saved their life and mine. There's no doubt. I'm sorry, guys. I want it to end is what I want. I want the world to get back to normal. I want our lives to get back to normal. Mentally, they're not going to break us. Spiritually, they're not going to break us. A friend of mine, this federal agent, I called him, I guess, 3 days after. He said, hey, man, how you doing? I said, well, better today than I was 4 days ago. And later on in the conversation, he goes, well, what did you mean by that? And I said, well, 4 days ago, I knew Christ, but I wasn't the Christian I needed to be. After this happened, I had my come to Jesus moment. I said, it's brought me a lot closer to Him.
I've been practicing by the grace of God for 27 years now, and I represent a lot of pro-life and pro-Christian cases throughout the 27 years. To answer your question, I've never seen the type of sentences that are being handed down in Washington, D.C., the months and months and years for misdemeanors.
There is so much abuse going on right now by the Justice Department. The things they've hidden that are trickling out, I'm sure they don't want them out, but things that have trickled out about their abuses, they trigger people.
They created me. I am born of what they did to my family, to my son. When they put little red dots on my kid on my front porch on his way out to school, a 13-year-old boy, when my wife came out in her bathrobe and a dozen armed men are surrounding my home and raiding my home for misdemeanor crime of demonstrating, as they damn well knew.
Remember, do not break, do not damage, do not harm. We are in a peaceful protest. We are executing our constitutional duty when we have been cheated from a stolen election.
Right then and there, I knew that it was time to make a change. I knew that we had to drop the shield, start swinging the sword, and I mean that in a figurative sense. God expects you to get involved. God expects you to roll up your sleeves. You got to get in the fight, and you got to get involved. And if you're not going to do it, then get the hell out of my way. I don't care how we have to do this, all right? It's going to get done. I prefer that we do it in the courts.
We're sending them footage, we're explaining what's going on in the footage, and they're not submitting it into court. They'll submit a little bit of it, but they're not telling the story. It has to be submitted into court.
What DOJ and FBI did is they doctored this video. The dark jacket turns white, and it makes it look like it's silence. It does it 6 times.
This is what this is political persecution. We are patriots. Ashley Babbitt was a patriot. My husband is a patriot. Roseanne Boylan was a patriot. And all I can say is that y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas. Your government is at war with the American people. And the quicker that we can get on board with that, and that we understand that they're not here for our well-being, and they will use our children, they will use our jobs, they will use anything they can to take down the American people and move on with that. They are at war with us.
A Texas man is the first January 6th defendant to go on trial. It'll happen Monday in D.C. at a trial by jury. And as investigative reporter Nathan Baca shows us, this case could be filled with family drama.
Guy Wesley Reffitt gets his day in federal district court on Monday, and 2 key witnesses say prosecutors plan to testify against Reffitt, his own son and daughter.
I do think what he was doing, he thought was right. But in the end, what he was doing was not right for himself or his family or the country even.
I feel like that the government has definitely programmed my son's ideology. With Jackson being involved with the FBI and being a witness for the government has their hooks in him.
Yeah.
They provide him therapy with a government-provided therapist. Jackson does not go by being a boy, even though he is a boy. So he's a them and a they, even though he's heterosexual. He is a democratic socialist. He is even now a proclaimed communist.
Yeah.
And the government had Jackson recording us in our home before they came and got Guy. Jackson got a lot of notoriety for turning his dad in.
Yeah.
He raised almost $300,000. He was touted as being almost like a Greta Thunberg type person. He had a very large following as far as the young people go. And I think that it really just influenced him to be even more radical. As soon as we really knew that it was Jax, Guy said, my heart is full of forgiveness for him because he does not know what he's done. I never expected Guy to get as long as he got. And they were trying to label him a domestic terrorist and all of these things. And it was so scary. He was the first trial to go before a jury in D.C. And he was convicted on all charges. He never entered the building and he was never charged with assault or property damage. But he did receive 7.5 years.
I just jaywalked. I just knowingly broke the law. But hundreds of thousands of people that came here on January 6th and walked on that grass right there didn't know they were breaking the law. Because all the restricted zone signs had been taken down, they were set up. That was deliberate.
If everybody was there for the purpose of violence, if everybody was there
for the purpose of taking over the U.S. Capitol, we couldn't have stopped them because there were just too many people. Yogananda Pittman was the person that was in charge of the setup. J. Thomas Manger, he's the person leading the cover-up. When demonstrators and officers are going after each other, they need that. They love it because it takes the attention off of Yogananda Pittman and what Manger is doing.
Right.
They need the narrative of J6 to be the same. A bunch of white, uneducated, violent Trump supporters attacked the Capitol for a violent insurrection.
Right.
That's the narrative. They got to keep it that way until the end of next year.
Right.
After the election is all over, now we can start finding out what really occurred, because that's not what occurred. That's not what it was.
They set us the fuck up. That's what they did. They set us up. They set up 64. Oh, absolutely. And then they asked y'all to come 2 hours later. They set us up. We didn't have a chance.
Yeah.
They did. The officers said couldn't do nothing down there. There's not enough people.
I need 5 minutes with Yogananda Pittman. She was the assistant chief. She was the one that oversaw the intelligence section of the Capitol Police on January 6th. January 6th, Nick, should have never happened. This is the intelligence, the IICD, which is the intelligence section. This is the overall analysis. I highlight some of the areas, but I'm going to say this. Supporters of the current president see January 6, 2021 as the last opportunity to overturn the results of the presidential election. This is the most shocking. Congress itself is the target on the 6th. They knew the Capitol building was the target. Now, I would be a rookie police officer if I would have read that paragraph, Nick. I would have said, hey boys, we got a problem. We need the National Guard here on January 4th. Why weren't the National Guard deployed on our nation's capital on January 4th? The intelligence, the leadership, Yogananda Pittman didn't share this with anybody.
We were blindsided. Intelligence failed operations. The January 6th attack at the Capitol was preventable. If the intelligence had been accurately reported and the FBI and DHS had followed their policies and established practices, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Every military guy I know, every three-letter guy I know that was at January 6th, we all saw the same things happening. We all knew that this was an operation.
Something caught my eye, and so I stopped it and I rewound, and as soon as I pushed play, I saw something else. If you watch the footage on top of the Capitol, and if you fast forward it and watch it, you really do see movement of individuals. You just see them moving through the crowd. The red smoke pops, and when Epps starts to leave, he's got 4 people in front of him and 4 people behind him, and they literally get him the hell out of there. They go behind the media and then just disappear. They said he was there by himself, or with his nephew also. They got separated. You know, if he was there by himself, then why are 4 guys leading him out and 4 guys following? It's plain to see, it's obvious.
You see a red smoke flare go off. This Special Forces individual, instantly when he saw the red flare, well, that's an avalanche. So what's an avalanche flare? He said that means get out. He said based on the timing of the flare and the automatic response of those 9 individuals immediately evacuating from their position up at the front, he said that was planned and coordinated.
Tomorrow, we need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol.
So he says, hey, Dan, I see you got a new friend over there. I said, oh, yeah, guy, Ray, and stuff. He goes, be careful. A lot of people coming up whispering in his ear and walking away. They're not using telephones. I said, oh. All right, Dave. So I hung out with Dave for a while again, and then me and Ray were talking, and he asked me to eventually take a walk with him to the Capitol. So we walk, and Ray leans into me and says, Dan, we're taking the Capitol, we're going in. I said, oh, I don't think the wife's gonna be happy driving bond money from Chicago. Ray wasn't laughing. So we took another few feet, and I said, hey, Ray, let's do a selfie. I took 2 selfies with the phone, put it back in my bracket. I said, who the f is this guy with me? His name's Ray Epps.
Is there anything further that you've learned about Ray Epps?
Well, quite a few things. Most recently in the news, we've been treated to the now publicly available transcript of the January 6th committee's interrogation of Mr. Epps. Adam Kinzinger, he's sometimes called Crybaby Kinzinger, and he's never seen a Trump supporter that he doesn't want rotting in prison for at least 50 years. And the weird thing about that is, you notice from the transcript, is that he's more aggressive in his defense of Ray Epps than Ray Epps' own lawyer, who is incidentally a 9-year veteran of the Phoenix FBI field office.
You can't sit here and tell me that guy wasn't part of a setup.
He was number 16 on your FBI most wanted list. He was encouraging people the night prior and the day of to go into the Capitol. And Mr. Ray Epps can be seen at the first breach of Capitol grounds at approximately 12:50 p.m. Epps even texted his nephew at 2:12 p.m. and said, I quote, "I was in the front with a few others. It was on the video. I also orchestrated it." If you don't arrest Mr. Epps, there's a reason behind it. I believe you know what it is, and it appears to me you are protecting this guy.
If you are suggesting that the violence that at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources or FBI agents, the answer is no, it was not.
There's 5 people, okay, that want to come forward to say that we have facial recognition of all the federal agents. The guys that were at the initial breach, we had to pick through them. The majority of them were feds.
He said he was communicating with his FBI handler while people were entering the U.S. Capitol. Can you confirm that the FBI had that sort of engagement with your own agents embedded into the crowd on January 6th?
If you are asking whether the violence at the Capitol on January 6th was part of some operation orchestrated by FBI sources and or agents, the answer is emphatically
You're saying
not.
no?
No.
These 2 buses in the middle here, they were the first to arrive at Union Station on January 6th, 0500. I have all this evidence. I'm showing you a tip of this iceberg. These buses are nefarious in nature and were filled with FBI informants dressed as Trump supporters and deployed onto our Capitol on January 6th. Your day is coming, Mr. Ray.
When I said how many agents or assets of the government were present on January 5th and January 6th and agitating in the crowd to go into the Capitol and how many went into the Capitol, can you answer that now?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Oh, last time, you don't know how many there were or there were none?
I don't know the answer to either of those questions. If there were any, I don't know how many. I don't know whether there are any.
I think you may have just perjured yourself that you don't know that there were any.
Attorneys for the Proud Boys revealed at least 40 undercover informants were doing surveillance on the defendants that day, including 13 working in the D.C. Metro Police.
We actually have evidence and records indicating plainclothes MPD officers were on Capitol grounds on January 6th.
Well, we go undercover as Antifa in the crowd, so can you put that back in?
Non-uniform guys have any identifiers? Like they will have a wristband. Their guns will have a candy stripe on the barrel. Okay. I don't know the wristband color, but they'll have a wristband somewhere.
You want to say that again, that you don't know that there were
I have
any?
no personal knowledge of this matter. I think what I said the last time.
You've had 2 years to find out. And the day, by the way, that was in reference to Ray Epps, and yesterday you indicted him. Isn't that a wonderful coincidence? On a misdemeanor. Meanwhile, you're sending grandmas to prison. You're putting people away for 20 years for merely filming. Some people weren't even there yet. You got the guy on video who's saying go into the Capitol. He's directing people to the Capitol. You've got all the goods on him, 10 videos, and it's an indictment for a misdemeanor? The American public isn't buying it.
No, we're breaking in now.
My name is Robert Powell, and I started my career in journalism in 1987. I've got a license from the FCC to operate any radio or television station in the nation. It's a lifetime license. I've got a degree in journalism, so I consider myself a journalist.
This guy is not just undercover, okay?
He is committing violence. He could be anybody, right? But it's the response that I've received from the FBI and the Department of Justice that tells me that he is an undercover federal agent. Because on January 15th, I gave him 29 minutes of high-definition video, and as of today, 4/7/2023, more than 26 months later, neither man has appeared on the FBI's most wanted list, hasn't been on their YouTube channel, and hasn't been on their Facebook page. They're posting fuzzy images of grandmas milling around outside wanting to break down their doors, but they don't want to have anything to do with the HD images that I gave them. They won't answer my FOIA requests. They won't answer my emails. They won't answer my phone calls. The FBI doesn't want to have anything to do with me. The very last thing in the world that they want is for this footage to end up in front of a federal judge because it shows one of their operatives pulling out a window.
And you filmed this?
Yeah, I filmed it and I defended that window. I arrived at the top of the steps and started filming just as an Antifa supporter by the name of Hunter Emke from Glendora, California was punching the window and kicking it. And he was tackled by a squad of 8 Capitol Hill police officers and rightfully arrested.
Did you see that happen?
Oh yeah, I filmed it.
So you personally eyewitnessed an Antifa guy committing the violence?
Yeah.
What did you think when you watched TV and you saw Christopher Wray testify before Congress that he saw no evidence that day of BLM or any anarchist type group involvement on January 6th?
I was wondering, why doesn't Josh Hawley hold him in or charge him with contempt of Congress?
You think treason was committed on January 6th?
I know it was. I saw it happen.
So they haul this kid away, then what happens?
This squad of 8 Capitol Hill police officers receive a radio transmission telling them to displace, which leaves that window completely unguarded. Why would you leave an open window into the Capitol with a mob milling around shouting, "We're going to go in there"? Makes no sense at all. So they walk away, and I start picking up glass, and I hear this guy on my right telling me, "Why don't you guys open up the rest of it, go inside?" And I replied, "Well, because that would probably be illegal. I'm just picking up garbage."
Why don't you guys open up the rest of it?
Because I think that would probably be illegal.
It was the guy in the black that said you go in there.
Yes. I wheeled my camera around just in time to capture video of this man pulling the window from its frame and dropping it to the ground and stepping aside to let people that wanted to go in. And that's when I dropped my journalism hat and I yelled, "Do not go in there." Immediately, the guy in black takes notice of me, my helmet that says media and press on it, and my camera that's pointed directly at him. So now he knows he's on film. And he starts pushing the protester that wanted to go inside.
Oh, so now that the camera's on him,
yeah, now that the
switched
camera
sides.
Oh yeah, exactly. You've never seen it anywhere.
Do not go in there.
The fellow in the brown, he was holding the Columbus doors open with a pole, had been 10, 12 feet long. And he's pushing me inside the Capitol.
Did he speak with an authoritative voice like he knew what he was doing? Or
both of these guys are in the club, man. I've been around alpha males all my life. I know how to recognize one, and these guys are in the club. I have given this video now to 17 United States congressmen and senators, 4 of them on the Weaponization Committee. I had already been to Michonne Maddock, who was the co-chair of the Michigan Republican Party, and I asked her to get this video to President Trump, and she laughed at me, and then she blocked me on Facebook. Okay, so decided to do a little end run around her and go to my friend, Carrie Bendevolia. So Carrie invited me to a lunch down in Bay City. Just as our meal comes, he says, "Hey, Bobby, what would it take to get you to stop talking about your January 6th footage?" And I said, "Well, why would I do that, Carrie?" And he tells me, "Because Ron Weiser wants you to. You know who he is, right?" And I said, of course I know who Ron Weiser is. He's the chairman of the Republican Party of the state of Michigan. Why in the world would he want me to stop talking about footage that proves President Trump was not responsible for the insurrection on January 6th? Kerry didn't answer my question, but he did come back with, how about $100,000? I said, get the hell out of here, Kerry. And he said, how about $200,000? And at this point, I'm realizing that my friend is serious. He's actually offering me a bribe to lose that video, and those were his words, lose the video and never speak of it again. And I said, look, Kerry, you can go back and you can tell Ron Weiser he doesn't have enough money to buy my honor or my silence. You can tell Ron Weiser that if he wants me to stop talking about this video, he's going to have me killed. At which point, Congressman Bentivolio looked me right in the face and said that could be arranged. And 6 weeks later, I'm giving a speech in front of the Pinellas County Courthouse when Pinellas County deputies arrest an Antifa terrorist with a pipe bomb.
Explosives and homemade grenades stuffed with nails, all found in the backpack of the 22-year-old man named Garrett Smith, arrested near this January 6th protest outside the Pinellas County Courthouse last night.
Smith has no criminal history, no social media accounts that we can find, and there's no prior intelligence information about Smith.
And deputies say Smith isn't talking. Dressed in all black, Smith was across the street from the crowd. Deputies don't know why Smith held back.
Now, I cannot connect these two events to prove that this man was sent to kill me, but 6 weeks between a death threat from a United States congressman and an actual attempt on my life is a little bit too much of a coincidence for me to ignore.
I've spoken to him before. Have you talked to Kerry in the last year or so?
No.
Should we call him?
I think we should.
I actually have the ex-congressman on my speed dial.
This should be fun.
Please leave your name, phone number, and a brief message, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you very much for calling.
Hey, Kerry, it's Chris Burgard. Long time no talk. Give me a call when you can. I just had something really interesting come up, and I wanted to reach out to you about it. Hope things are well. God bless. About an hour and a half after we wrapped shooting Bobby Powell, we were on our way to dinner, and Congressman Bentivolio called me back.
Listen, I interviewed this fella, and he said some things, and I need you to fact check for me because they were pretty serious.
Okay.
So this fella's name is Bobby Powell. He's a former Marine.
Crazy Bobby Powell. We had lunch, that's correct.
Okay, and he said that you asked him how much it would take for him to be quiet talking about January 6th and for his footage to go away.
That's a lie.
That's a lie. So you did not offer him $100,000.
I don't have $100,000 to offer him.
Well, he said you offered him $100,000 and then $200,000 that was coming from the head of the Michigan Republican Party. That you were basically the messenger, and the head of the Republican Party was the one that was making the offer.
That's a lie.
Okay. Then the next thing he said was he wasn't going to shut up. Somebody would have to kill him, and that you said this could also be arranged.
That's a lie. If you put something like that out, I would probably sue at this point.
Instead of telling me you're going to sue me, why haven't you sued him?
So whether you believe the former congressman or the former Marine independent reporter, the fact is, not long after that lunch, someone tried to bomb the Jeremy Brown event where Bobby Powell was speaking. This is a very unusual day for us because people with much less presence on January 6th near the violence that day have either been arrested, been sentenced, or been visited by the FBI. You're the first guy I've met that hasn't been visited by the FBI.
They don't want to talk to me at all. They don't want to know about Bobby Powell. I'm sure I'm keeping Christopher Wray up at night. God put me in a place where I could capture evidence that will flip this coup. If we can prove that those men were in the employ or acting on the behalf of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, a lot of powerful people are going to jail. I know people are afraid to do the right thing. I've had friends, people who I've hugged, people who I've been to dinner with. I've been in their houses. We've sat around bonfires. Bobby, I'm ashamed I can't share your video or I'll lose my job. The government has got these American citizens so terrified, and it's got to end.
Had there been a real insurrection. 2 small squads of military trained guys could have wiped out the entire House and Senate that day.
Let's get it, baby! Fight for Trump! Fight for Trump!
J6 was a foundational pillar or a preposition for a narrative. The government had been talking about domestic terrorism, but they needed to put a picture with the narrative. They needed something to sear into the conscience of the American people that they have been preparing through propaganda in the media, through government propaganda, etc.
Everybody that was on the ground on J6, police officers and demonstrators alike, were all set up.
There were people there that were antagonists. The one kid, clearly Sullivan, right? I mean, he was a member of Antifa. So how many others were there that were aligned with him? Because he didn't show up there on his own accord.
There was a false PSYOP mob that was sent there to engage in these disruption operations, to then tar everybody as a disruptor, where people would be roped up, thrown in jail. It was all a false flag. It was all a psychological operation.
It's not protest, it's insurrection.
We are engaged in a great information war, and as a matter of fact, it includes PSYOPs, which for the military is illegal to be done in the United States. But we have the State Department, we have many in the executive branch. This runs across agencies engaged in information war to pit Americans against each other.
This is intimidation, just like the Gestapo. The intimidation is to send a message loud and clear to people who have opposing viewpoints. You better keep your mouth shut. You better stay home. Don't even think about using your First Amendment rights, freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, because we're going to come in and knock you down.
They're building a registry of religious people, and they're going to cleanse us. They're going to find a way to remove us, one way or another.
If this was a true insurrection, these paintings would have been destroyed. The insurrection is there to overthrow the government. You want to destroy everything America stands for. They could have taken the flags, they could have punched holes, they could have destroyed these paintings that had been here for 200 years. They didn't touch any of it. They didn't touch any of it. This is all about one man. It's about Donald J. Trump in 2024, because they can't beat him in a free and fair election.
If you would like information on how to reach the Department of Justice website, press 1.
Justice, Operator 52.
Hello, Operator 52, ma'am. My name is Chris. I'm a documentary filmmaker, and I was calling to see if we could make an appointment to interview Director Wray. Hello?
Sorry, due to a large volume of calls, all of our analysts are assisting other callers. Please while I transfer your call.
Operator 52, if you're out there, if you could help us to get through to Director Wray, that would be outstanding.
How do you guys feel about January 6th?
Yeah.
Yeah? You're pro or anti?
Yeah.
Any January 6th deniers? You gotta cut the people a little bit of slack. Like, a lot of people judge the January 6th as a little unfair. Like, there was a lot of people there that day. Like, some people say 1 million or 2 million, and they were only there because they thought the election was rigged. And like the only reason they thought the election was rigged was just because of like all the obvious and overwhelming evidence.
President Trump made no secret about the fact that he thought that the election was suspicious, and he wanted to put me in charge of a broader effort, department-wide, to look at the election. And that's really when my time of troubles began. First, inside the department from colleagues, and then after leaks by those former colleagues to the New York Times. My youngest was 12 at the time, and she came up to me in a quiet moment and she said, "Dad, do you think the agents read my diary?" And that just really, it really hit home, Nick. This is not the America that I grew up in. It's not that there weren't signs of how things were gradually eroding, but to see it get to this point where, I can be at the Justice Department running 1,400 lawyers, having Oval Office meetings, arguing before the federal courts of appeals in very important litigation, and then you fast forward, 5.5 months, and the very same department that I was a leader at is raiding my house and invading, not only my privacy, but at least creating fears that the whole family's privacy was invaded. My cancellation was all as a result of having touched the third rail of the 2020 presidential election.
There is something very wrong with this election, that there have been several cases proven of election fraud. In fact, the most alarming thing that we saw that we wanted to talk to the president about was how the intelligence community was working against him. And under Title 50 and Foreign Intelligence, that is under the executive branch. The president is their boss.
If anybody says there was nothing that was suspicious, they weren't paying attention, or they are a partisan actor. That's my view. There's plenty of information that could have been investigated. What I knew from working in the FBI was, when we asked that question of our supervisor, what is being done? Who is investigating the potential election frauds? There are credible allegations. There are videos of things that look very suspicious. I don't know what they mean. I know that they are suspicious looking. Who's running that down, if not us? And he went and asked our supervisor, and he was told to shut up and color. And then he got transferred to his office of choice, and Jennifer Moore suspended me.
I think China ran our elections, my friend.
Who do you think stole the election?
Without question, the Democrats, but I think they also had support from the Chinese because of all the techniques that they used.
Many people thought that China ran the election, stole the election. And you're telling me that you factually can say that.
Part of my presentation and my affidavit, sworn affidavit with others, was that the Chinese Communist Party from 2009 to 2020 entered into this agreement with the Union Bank of Switzerland to purchase Dominion voting machines, ES&S and Premier through Staple Street Capital. They created a variety of financial organizations and instruments, and they gradually increased UBS Securities LLC from 25% to 51%, and then eventually to 100%. They did that over a 10-year process, and this was, in my mind, a psychological operation and a financial act of treason by Barack Obama and his minions, his operatives. So when I had intel agents from Hong Kong provide me with this, that's when I took it to Trump's people and said, UBS Securities and the Chinese Communist Party have purchased Dominion voting machines. They're going to algorithmically impregnate them, they're going to manipulate them, they're going to do it to Premier, they're going to do something. So get the mathematicians on there, get the scientists on there to track everything that goes in and out of these voting machines.
So if you go to the chart, what you will see is a documentation of foreign interference in the election. The first column that shows that on 11/5/2020 at 7:43 and 38 seconds, we had a foreign intrusion, and it shows the IP address, the Internet Protocol address. The second column is the owner or source of that IP address. That shows that ChinaNet in Beijing province entered the election. Then in the final column, what you're seeing are votes changed. Now, in this particular case, when they went into Emmett County, Michigan, the votes that were changed was they stole 3,477 votes from Donald Trump. That's what you're looking at. Now, as you go through this document and you look at all the multiple intrusions into our election, what you'll notice that over 60% of these intrusions come from China. But what you're watching, all those moving lines, they represent the IP addresses of what I just showed you on the chart. So what you're seeing are the actual files being received and sent. That's a documentation of the real-time theft of our elections.
We were always under the impression that Trump was going to declare the election was fraudulent, it was stolen, it has been manipulated by a variety of actors and methodologies, and we are not going to recognize a fraudulent election.
So while many of us know one perspective of what was going on outside the Capitol, let's take a look at what was going on inside the Capitol. Going into January 5th, 147 members of the House and 12 senators in the Senate side, and growing by the minute, publicly already stated that they were going to object to at least one, likely two, possibly three states' electors, triggering a 12th Amendment contingent election. What actually happened on January 6th? As right after Paul Gosar, congressman from Arizona, stands up as the one House member and Ted Cruz as the one senator, meeting the threshold to create an objection to our objection period, right after that happens, you can see and hear Mike Pence sigh in a very big gasp sigh. Very awkward.
I rise up for myself and 60 of my colleagues to object to the counting of the electoral ballots from Arizona.
Is the objection in writing and signed by a senator?
Yes, it is.
It is.
That's when, literally within moments, the breach, that was the trigger. If an objection happens, the breach must take place, because they don't want the truth to come out of the evidence of an illegally conducted and certified election in Arizona, which would create the momentum for a re-election for President Trump.
None of this would have happened if they had done it the way we advocated, but they didn't. They played soft. And what happened? January 6th happens, and they said, well, there's an insurrection. We have to rush through the election and the certification of Joe Biden.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Georgia rise?
Mr. President, myself, members of the Georgia delegation, and some 74 of my Republican colleagues and I object to the electoral votes from the state of Georgia on the grounds that the election conducted on November 3rd was faulty and fraudulent.
Sections 15 and 17 of Title III of the United States Code require that any objection be presented in writing and signed by a member of the House of Representatives and a senator. Is the objection in writing and signed by a member and a senator?
Mr. President, prior to the actions and events of today, we did, but following the events of today, it appears that some senators have withdrawn their objection.
In that case, the objection cannot be entertained.
The whole purpose of the storming of the Capitol on January 6th was to distract away from the mountains of election fraud evidence that there was, to essentially change the narrative from election fraud to right-wing extremist terrorism, and use that to steer the narrative and regain control and demonize all Trump supporters and anyone who had questioned the election integrity.
That's what they did January 6th for, is to create this inferno and this loud, bombastic, chaotic event that could then be used to quicken, to accelerate beyond any constitutional limits this rushing through of the election certification of the votes. They should never have happened.
There was a lot of people in Congress who had problems with the electoral count in their state. You know, that's what we were there for, was to show support for those members of Congress who were standing against another 300 of them.
So the proceedings that were going on in the Congress, with them standing up and objecting to the electors, That's what you wanted to happen.
Yeah, I wanted that to happen. There would be no reason for me to go there and stop that process. Like, what would be the point in me going and stopping the thing that's going to save the election?
Father, I pray, Lord God, for a breakthrough, Lord, to turn around this crooked crime that have taken place in the presidential election, God. Lord God, right now, move, Lord, mightily, Lord God. Father, I just speak to Mike Pence, Lord God, that your spirit will fall upon him strong, oh God. Father, just like your spirit was on him when he was the governor of Indiana, Lord God, same thing. Father, move when he stood against Planned Parenthood, when he stood against the LGBTQ in Indiana. God, move, oh God, in Jesus' name on Mike Pence right now. God, in Jesus' name, in Jesus' name. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Glory to God.
Amen.
Glory to God. Glory to God.
We're here at the Reagan Library in Simi Valley, California, because Chris loves this country. Chris actually served in the Marine Corps for over 22 years. And part of his service included doing the 21-gun salute for President Ronald Reagan's memorial. And he actually did the commands for that day. My name's Annette. I'm the spouse of Chris Cooney, and we're talking because on February 11, 2021, the FBI raided our home.
Why did they raid your home?
Chris went to the Capitol on January the 6th, and he went there to protect people. When we found out that people were going to be going to January 6th, we thought that people were going to get hurt. And so he wanted to make sure that families got to their cars or got to their hotels or, you know, got to their place safely. And that's why he decided to go.
So, describe the raid as much as you remember it.
So it was about 6:30ish in the morning, and they surrounded our home with 3 police vehicles. So at that moment, Chris's cell phone rang, and it loud and clear, I heard, "Chris Cooney, this is the FBI. You need to come out of your house immediately."
I got the door. I got the door. Move it, move it. I'll tell you when you bring it in. Yep.
And it was freezing cold. It was like 7 degrees without a wind chill there in Kansas. I looked down and I saw laser red lights moving, and I thought, was that pointed at me? So I looked down at my chest, and then I realized our little 4-year-old was standing right next to me, and I saw them on him too. So they were yelling at Chris to turn around, and at that moment, I heard them tackle him down and throw him in the snow. And I heard him scream in pain because he had just had surgery on his left wrist.
Right.
I was holding our son, so I tried to turn to shield him from seeing or hearing anymore, and I didn't know what to do, so I started to walk towards the front door, and that's when the other FBI agents came and they kept us outside. And then one police officer took off their jacket and put it over our son. Chris was gone, I think, at that time, and we were still outside, and then after a few minutes, they allowed us to go inside. You know, when I think about it, it's unbelievable that this has happened.
And so, at this point, did you know the charges against Chris?
Yeah, there were, I think they were all there, still the same charges that they said in the beginning, felonies and misdemeanors.
Has Chris ever been arrested for anything else?
Never.
No.
Never.
That's the most fascinating thing to me, is that so many times this is the case. You have a veteran who's never been arrested for anything, who was part of the honor guard here at Reagan's funeral, and yet they're treating him like he's some sort of dangerous terrorist or killer that they have to keep trapped in his home.
Chris has always been a protector. This is who he is. He will protect any one of you. He will be there to help you, save you if you're injured, you're sick, you're hurt. How can I help you? What could I do for you?
Chris obviously has been advised by his attorney not to speak about this. Do you think that silence is allowing the government to sort of do this kind of oppression undercover rather than having it be out in the open?
I think so. I ended up getting an appointment to go to the doctor.
Was that a routine visit, or was that something that you felt something was wrong?
Yeah, so that Friday morning, I woke up and I think just like all the stress, just not sleeping, not eating, I just felt kind of off. And when I went to the doctor's appointment, she did an ultrasound, and I just was feeling maybe I didn't eat enough or just kind of lightheaded and sick.
Right.
And then when I got up, that's when there was just blood dripping everywhere.
Oh my God.
And I started to look for the cupboards to find like anything I could clean up the floor with. She came back and she gave me a hug and she said, "I'm really sorry, but if you don't have emergency surgery, you're gonna bleed to death." So I didn't know if I was gonna see my son again, or Chris, or anybody, because I was by myself. When I was in the hospital, I just prayed to God. I went to have the procedure, and then I was able to like wake up and...
And after you woke up, what did the doctor tell you had happened?
It was just like, that was it. A nurse checked me out and I left. It was just, I lost my baby. I'm okay, but I just couldn't cry. Like, I couldn't cry and have any feeling at that point. I felt just nothing. I felt numb for months. And then finally, the grief and loss, fear, all these other feelings came. So that's the hardest thing, because now you have a loss of life that we're dealing with besides everything else. There hasn't been a day that's gone by that I haven't thought about that day and the baby and everything else and what would we be like today. I think that law enforcement has been weaponized and it's being used against the American citizens. And it's to make a statement that if you don't like what we're saying or we're doing, then this is the treatment you're gonna get. And that's what it feels like.
I'm really concerned for this country in a lot of ways. This country was found on a certain set of principles. God is the centerpiece. He sits at the throne. And that's the way this country was developed by our forefathers. And I think we have moved so far beyond that. If we don't stand for God, then we don't stand for anything. And I think that that's a really slick slope. And I think that we're on that downhill slope right now.
And it's picking up speed.
And as a service member, I did swear to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I hold that truth same to the day.
I knew the president. I was alone with the president twice when I was younger. He said that freedom was always a generation away, that we could lose it. I never thought that could happen in the United States. I always thought very kindly, "Sir, you're a very wise man, but you're wrong about that." He was absolutely right.
Freedom is a fragile thing, and it's never more than one generation away from extinction. It is not ours by way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it comes only once to a people. And those in world history who have known freedom and then lost it have never known it again.
We're at war. I'm going to say that again. We're at war. That there is a Marxist movement in this country that is determined to take over America and change it into a Marxist society.
In 2003, James Comey admitted when he was leaving New York as the U.S. Attorney and going to be the Deputy Attorney General, he said in New York Magazine, "I was a communist, not sure what I am now." This is the guy that Republicans and Democrats thought was a good choice to be the FBI director.
When we say things like this was a setup and they set us up, and who's they? Who is the enemy?
The communist movement in the United States, working seamlessly with the Islamic movement in the United States and their financiers, which are all over the place. It's also European financiers, American financiers that are betting on China over the United States.
Right.
You've got Black Lives Matter, created out of the largest Chinese Communist front group in the United States. Not a civil rights group that went bad. It was always a Chinese Communist group. No investigations at the Washington field office, for instance. It's outrageous.
They're hiding, lying, deceiving, distracting, and continuing to sort of propagandize the entire culture of this country.
I think that 99% of the corporate journalists are pushing an agenda, and it's the government's agenda, which I don't know how this came to be in this country when the role of the media was to check and balance the government, and now they've become a propaganda arm of the government.
Simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy, to our democracy, to our democracy.
Thomas Jefferson said that without a free and independent press that the country would be doomed, and I couldn't agree more. And I think now the press is not free and it's not independent on any level. So that's why independent journalists and citizen journalists are becoming so much more important. People that don't have to answer to the corporations that are answering to the government. So right now, when I look out there at the news, 99.9% of this stuff literally makes me sick. It's not true, it's all lies, it's all propaganda. And then 3 or 4 years later, the truth comes out and they just sweep it under the rug like they never were inaccurate. They never apologized for their inaccuracy.
The narrative was that President Trump incited that crowd to attack the Capitol. It was incitement that was the narrative. And I said, there was no incitement. This began while he was still speaking.
When you start linking everything together, there's so much to it. You obviously see what's going on and what's taking place. They started this years ago to build this narrative to take control.
The narrative is January 6th was an insurrection, and the people that participated in, they're a, quote, lethal threat, according to Mr. Biden. Therefore, the DHS and FBI deal with the lethal threat the way the federal government does.
There was a obvious professional coup d'etat operation going on. I think that was with the Ukrainian operatives that had been exercised and brought over from Ukraine. They had experienced the 2014 overthrow of President Yanukovych. That was US CIA, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Barack Obama, John Kerry, Victoria Nuland.
I just think Klitsch going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work. So that would be great, I think, to help glue this thing and have the UN help glue it. And, the EU.
These are the scenes that triggered the breakup of Ukraine. Unarmed protesters gunned down in the streets by the riot police who were retreating from Kiev's Maidan Square.
So the original coup d'etat they did in Ukraine, that was a practice session for what we saw on January 6th.
I identified Eric Ciaramella working with Victoria Nuland in the overthrow of the Ukraine.
Ukrainians were once again taking to the streets in popular protest. But appearances can be deceptive. Some of these people were paid to be here.
А скільки хоч платять? Ну так, приблизно.
Ціни там різняться, ще не знаю, тобто.
There was an effort to bring people in, and what they do is they foment unrest, and they are trained to do that. There's going to be an effort to try to say, don't look here, nothing to see here, right? But what you want to do is if you're tuned in and you're trained to see these kinds of things, you're like, no, I want that raised to here, and I want that, and so what does that have to do with this, and what does that have to do with that? Because that happened in, let's say, in Iran, that happened in Ukraine, this happened in the United States of America. Are they connected in some way? The big picture, to me, is that somebody is actually behind all that.
There's a fellow named Rich Higgins. Rich and General Jerry Boykin put together the Anti-Muslim Brotherhood Task Force that I worked with for several years. Rich Higgins was also director of the National Security Council under President Trump. And he wrote a memo how the deep state was subverting the Trump administration and how they had planned to do a coup on his presidency. And when he brought that memo to the president, his higher-ups fired him. He wrote a book about it called The Memo, and everything Rich wrote has happened. Rich told me before he died, if you want to understand who the players are behind January 6th, you have to understand what happened in Ukraine, and you have to look into a guy named Norm Eisen, and also through him a guy named Eric Ciamarella.
Norm Eisen's face came up because I said he was shoehorned in by Nancy Pelosi as a non-congressional, authority person. He was a civilian to help out with the Ukraine impeachment. Same Norm Eisen, who wrote the Manual on Color Revolutions. He also wrote the Transition Integrity Project. You know about that? Mm-hmm. It was the project where they said, this is what's going to happen. The election's going to go this way. It's going to take a long time to count the ballots. And then President Trump's going to call for a rally. And then Ray Epps is going to say, well, you need to go into the Capitol. I'm exaggerating.
Right.
But in advance, he
had
wrote.
It all outlined.
That's Norm Eisen that wrote that.
Wow.
Okay? Gene Sharp is a guy, people don't even know his name, but they know Norm Eisen because he was involved in the Ukraine. They were going around the world and they were literally overthrowing communist dictatorships. They would exploit the emotions of the people and have an uprising.
They claim Yanukovych's victory was rigged, with reports of ballot stuffing and voter intimidation.
Lukashenko has called for a nationwide strike, warning the country is on the verge of civil war.
So they've been practicing this to overthrow regimes all around the world. And when I started taking a look at what happened January 6th, I personally identified and worked with investigators. Jacob Chansley, for instance, was pictured with Sergei Dubinin. Sergei Dubinin was a neo-Nazi that was in charge of overthrowing the Ukraine, and he was facially recognized on the front porch of the Capitol. So they had Ukrainian operators, foreign operators, multiple agencies, all for the purposes of taking the emotions and get people to do things that they normally wouldn't do. If you and I are standing in a crowd and your wife is there and she gets a concussion grenade fired at the side of her head, I'm going to get upset because they fired it at your wife. There were people that were upset, they were provoked, but that was part of the plan, was to do that.
So they got a bunch of dumbasses like me there, who were there for sincere reasons.
Oh, yes.
And then they started firing munitions at them, provoking the crowd. And so then the crowd reacted.
It's all an operation. It's a color revolutionary tactic. I have evidence that he's involved in ballot harvesting schemes. The Arizona stuff that was going on, there was testimony by a guy named Macias. And he said, I work for a nonpartisan outlet and I'm an election expert.
I'm Ryan Macias with the Elections Assistance Commission, and I am on our testing and certification program team. Today we're going to talk about voting system coding and programming and use of language access in the voting system, but also how you can port it over to election technologies.
Macias works for Norm Eisen, and he's on the floor of the audit in Arizona with thumb drives. He's on video. He got caught infiltrating. Nobody's really connected the dots.
There's people behind the scenes who think all Americans are stupid. I spent decades as a military intelligence officer. I think Pelosi and the DNC had the media story done ahead of time.
The videos captured by her daughter, Alexandra Pelosi, a documentary filmmaker.
We have got to finish the proceedings or else we're going to have a complete victory.
This was all theater. They created theater. Nancy Pelosi is a shitty actress. She was involved in this.
If he comes, I'm going to punch him out. This is my mom. I would pay to see that. I'm waiting for this, for trespassing on the Capitol grounds. I'm going to punch him out and I'm going to go to jail and I'm going to be happy.
It was all scripted. It was all set up.
When we started this 2 years ago and we were talking about people infiltrating the crowd and it being a Fed setup, I thought you were crazy. I didn't think it was possible that our government could be that corrupt. But more and more as it's come out, we weren't even aware of half of it. I mean, it's been such an elaborate setup. It's not an accident that most of the people that are being persecuted for January 6th are Christians and veterans and patriots and people who love this country. They've got to take those people out.
When your loyalty is to God and country, not the government,
they can't control you.
Can't control you. So the people that still believe Laus Deo, that still believe praise God, have to be taken out first.
What do you think would have happened if TK had not made the decision to evacuate?
When TK made the decision to evacuate that floor, he was able to do it and do it safely. I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
You did it because nobody else did anything. You actually made a command decision as a lieutenant to say the safest, the best thing that we can do right now is get these members out through the back hallway, through that speaker's lobby. You did that, and you did it safely. Because if individuals would have been able to enter that house floor, there would have been a significant loss of life at those doors.
What TK did didn't just save lives in the chamber, it saved the lives of the protesters.
Yeah.
It was protecting them from what the Capitol Police might have to do had they breached the chamber. It seems like if there had been hundreds of congressmen inside there when people did come in, if TK had not gotten them out, that would have been a bloodbath.
It would have been catastrophic. It would have been catastrophic. It didn't happen because that man made the right decision.
My name is Ann Vandersteel. I'm being politically persecuted by the United States government. There is my plane right there. I was just removed off this aircraft for no reason. What happened? Why was I removed off the plane?
Well, I didn't do anything about it.
Why was I removed off the plane? Why was I removed off the plane? This broadcast is going out everywhere, by the way. I'm not putting up with this anymore. I was absolutely doing zero wrong.
These two are here for me. Watch. How you doing, gentlemen?
Your boarding pass and ID, sir. Do you have your ID?
Yep, absolutely.
You're gonna come this way, sir?
Yep, told you they were gonna do screening again. Look, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for hassling purposes.
I told you he just had the security area, and you took it as somebody secure the area. It's my glory. That's what we have to do. It's our job.
But then when you come up with me, you say, I saw someone pass you something before you complete the screening purpose.
I'm a supervisor. I'm just
part
doing
of
my
being a
job.
good team leader is to have all the information. So if you see something, get the information before you accuse somebody.
I didn't accuse you of anything.
You said I was passing.
No, I said I seen something passed on to you, and you put it on your head before you were fully screened. That's what I said.
It wasn't passed
I didn't
off.
accuse
The
you
guy
of
just
anything.
dropped it, and Chris just picked it up to help him.
Ma'am, you all are looking at me like I'm a troublemaker. I'm not. I put my life on the line for this country, and I wasn't lying to you when I said it was the tag on my
See, you're
underwear.
taking it as that. All we're doing is our job.
Every single person who flew into the capital region, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th, the whole time range on either side of the events of January 6, 2021, everybody that flew into the Capitol was considered to be a potential domestic terrorist, and they were put on a watch list by TSA. They grabbed all the flight records.
Wait, you're telling me that anyone that flew into the DC area on January 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th has been flagged as a terrorist?
That's what we're told.
Even if they didn't go into the Capitol building?
Especially some of the people that did, because that's where it gets most egregious. There was a whistleblower that came out who was a federal air marshal, a supervisor, okay? And him and his wife were in the region at the time. She's wheelchair bound. She had a stroke 26 years ago, so she's unable to actually walk very far or anywhere. She walks with a pronounced limp. So she went to the speech on the Ellipse. She was able to stand and listen to that. She went, caught an Uber. She went back to her hotel. And that was the end of it. And then her husband sees her in the Federal Air Marshal's database. He sees his wife is tagged for a surveillance detail, and it's his job to assign surveillance agents, armed Federal Air Marshals, to follow his handicapped wife on a plane. I've seen the document that showed it. It said that she was a 102 subject, which is the way that they flag domestic terrorism, parentheses, DT for domestic terrorism. And then in the narrative section, almost all federal forms, they'll have a reason code, right? And then they'll have like a description. It said, entered the Capitol on January 6th. There's no evidence she did that. there's no ability to prove it because she didn't do it.
So the Biden administration has taken U.S. Marshals from following jihadis to following MAGA people.
Yeah.
So they've sealed hundreds of pages of documents in my case. You can go look at the last motion we filed. I'm sure as hell not a Fed, and I sure as hell don't work for the CIA. As a matter of fact, I've been asked, and I told them I gave them a throbbing middle finger, real quick. And when I say asked, I was asked directly by the FBI illegally to work for them. And you know who you are, and you know what you did, and if you guys keep coming at me, it's going to keep coming at you, because we have the record.
How did the FBI gain access to those email communications between attorneys and clients?
The jail communications are to be monitored, and and all prisoners and attorneys are notified of that. So they monitor this communication, turn it over to the FBI. The monitoring's not wrong. It's turning it over to the FBI, then in turn turning it over to the DOJ, and then formulating a prosecution strategy based off of it. The FBI's talking about, have they foreclosed on their home yet? You know, he just had an hour-long argument with his wife. I mean, this is the kind of stuff going on in the case. Jessica Watkins from the Oath Keepers. So every time she would communicate with her attorney and talk about someone she wanted to use as a witness in the Oath Keepers case, every single time, all of a sudden, magically within days, this person is indicted and charged. So they lose another witness, lose another witness, lose another witness, over and over. This is a repetitive process. Same thing with Stuart Rhodes, others, they couldn't figure it out. They actually thought that the counsel was giving information to the FBI because there was no way that they could have known this, right? What it turns out to be, they're monitoring the communications illegally. We're way outside the boundaries for rules of professional conduct with what the prosecution, what the government's want to do. Agent Nicole Miller sends in this 26 lines of communication that she says were relevant to her investigation. They needed to be turned over to the DOJ, which in turn get turned over to the defense counsel. One of the paralegals working on the case realizes this file size for 26 lines of communication is massive. So she goes looking at this Excel spreadsheet and toggles on unfiltered. Oops, they failed to remove all the communications. 26 lines became 13,955 lines of communication. 80 lines of communication were either embarrassing to the government, illegal, unethical, immoral, criminal, etc.
These American citizens who are sitting in jail somewhere because of January 6th, who have yet to really truly see the rule of law work for them. They're sitting there because we have a culture that is being shoved down the throat of America today.
John Adams wrote that our Constitution was written for a moral and religious people and was wholly unsuited for the governance of any other. He warned us exactly about what you're saying, where we're at right now.
There's been several times in the arc of American history where we have come up against these barriers. Right before the Civil War, when we were up trying to end slavery, our nation stopped, it fasted, and it prayed again, and then we had a change.
Didn't that happen in Constitutional Hall when they were deadlocked?
Benjamin Franklin stood up, he was very old, and he looked at the men in the room and he said, when we sat in the same room when we were fighting the British, we would meet here daily for prayer, and we asked God to give us victory. He said our prayers were heard and they were graciously answered. Have we now forgotten our important friend? Or do we feel we no longer need him? He said, I propose that we break for a period of prayer and fasting, and when they came back, they formed the greatest government ever in the history of the world. They called it the Great Experiment. And so now we come back to where we sit today. We have unscrupulous people that have risen to the top of our government, and they have decided that rules don't apply to them.
The protection of pending investigations and ongoing investigations, as I briefly discussed in another dialogue a few moments ago, goes back to the separation of powers, which gives to the executive branch the sole authority to conduct prosecutions. It's a requirement of due process and respect for those who are under investigation.
With all due respect to that, Iran-Contra was an ongoing investigation, and that didn't stop Congress from getting the answers. And you're getting in the way of our constitutional duty. You're citing the Constitution. I'm going to cite it. It's our constitutional duty to do oversight. Mark Zuckerberg, on the other hand, spent $400 million in 2020 tilting the elections secretly for Democrats. No investigations whatsoever. To the American public, these look like mafia tactics. You pays your money, we look the other way. You get in our way, we punish you.
They're trying to break them and say, you know, say this lie out loud, and then we'll release the pressure.
When 20 years is hanging over your head, they'll sign any piece of paper. They just want out. They just want freedom. But the reality is, like Rob and I, we take a lot of shots as being people that love God as pastors. Why are you being political? You know, there's nothing political about that. Paul the Apostle at strategic times used his citizenship. He called the political leaders of that community to account because they were terrified. If you beat an uncondemned Roman citizen, your life's in danger. Their life was in danger. And he says, you come down here, and he used his citizenship to hold their feet to the fire, because if he made a display here, they would leave the congregation alone. When Rob made a stand here, his hope was, if we make a stand and win, we're gonna save the rest of our brothers and sisters in those churches. When you finally stand up and stop thinking about your own carcass, and you stand up for others, you will be the individual that's gonna do the right thing.
As we defy tyranny, America awakens. And I do believe that that is what we're called to do. Because Romans 13 is not unlimited submission to tyranny. As Jonathan Mayhew pointed out, we're to submit to all positions of authority, but it also says that God appoints those positions, but it also says that they are there for our good. They govern by our consent. That's what our birth certificate says. When they cease to do good, they cease to be the authority.
My government name is Jesus Rivera. I go by JD, 10-year Marine Corps veteran. I am a filmmaker, and now in about a day or two, I'll be going to prison for 8 months.
Why are you going to prison for 8 months?
For my documentation of January 6th. I was in Iraq in 2004, 2005, so Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom.
When you were in Iraq, were you there for the first free election in Iraq?
Yeah, I was able to help build the polling stations and everything else. And then once we were done with that, I was part of the team that was out there providing security for that entire day, which was really cool to see and say I'm a part of that. Because for me, that's in the history books right now, and I was actually there. We knew who voted that day. You know, they don't have IDs like we do, but they still had this process to show who voted, so they're not getting multiple votes and things like that.
So when you got there on January 5th, what kinds of things did you see?
We were there with Topher Music, you know, Bryson Gray, Craig Long, a lot of big name conservative influencers. It was really fun. I mean, the morale, the camaraderie was amazing.
It was a happy time.
It was an extremely happy time. Here's what's crazy. That day was the first day that I started realizing that stuff was gonna kind of get wacky, right? I'm coming down there expecting a lot of BLM people, regardless of who they were, but I was expecting hundreds and thousands of BLM people with the same amount of MAGA supporters were there. But when you get there, there was 3 or 4 people on that side. And I'm like, this is weird.
And you had been to many, many Trump rallies before.
Yeah.
And was there usually always a counter-protest, a fairly sizable counter?
There was always a counter-protest at every rally we went to, and it wasn't like that.
And so they just suddenly decided not to counter-protest on January 5th, on the biggest rally. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truth is what's being hidden and skewed, and you know it's different than the narrative that they have.
Did you have any idea in your mind that the footage that you got would be incriminating for you?
Absolutely not. No, again, I thought the footage I got was going to help push a career for me.
When you first got back, did you think that you had footage that was going to help you get a job?
I did get a job.
Yeah.
So WKRG actually hired me on. I did new hire paperwork, and I thought that this footage was actually going to help me be in a bigger spot in my career with them. Now I'm going to prison for that footage. I put this together because I wanted to show the side-by-side comparison of my footage compared to Luke Mogelson from The New Yorker. Because as we said, Luke Mogelson went in the Capitol, and you'll see here on side-by-side that we essentially did the exact same thing. You see, I'm going up the same area he's going up.
Yeah.
This is the same exact window Luke motioned it. As I'm in here, the police officer on the inside yells, "You guys need to keep moving. We don't want anybody to get trampled." I'm not forcing my way in. I'm not pushing anybody.
Right.
The exact same window.
Doesn't look like there's a lot going on over here, just people wandering around.
Wandering and chanting. You don't need credentials when it's the First Amendment and the Constitution says, right? I was there gathering information that was going to be used as an information source. I wasn't just there filming. Did I have an actual credential that day? No, I did not. However, individuals who supposedly had credentials didn't ever show their press pass. They have the exact same amount of reason to be there as I did.
Right.
The difference is because I was a Trump supporter. I'm a conservative. I'm not a part of that. My life has to get turned upside down.
That footage that you shot, the FBI took it, and you weren't able to use that during your trial? Or did they use that against you?
So all the footage that they used against me was basically my edited version.
Your stuff.
All my stuff. But you saw a side-by-side comparison. They used against me to say that everything that I did in that side-by-side was what considered me to be a part of the riot and the chaos. But not him. I showed he went through the exact same steps, through the exact same window, in the exact same hall.
Mm-hmm.
And he was actually documenting more stuff than I was, to include the QAnon guy.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, my stuff, I'm the domestic terrorist, and I'm the one who gets slammed. He's praised as some type of hero for documenting that.
This whole week leading up to this, it's been go, go, go. Try to fit in all the family time, try to get all of this done. Okay. Yes, ma'am. You know, those are some of my last moments with him, you know, as a free man. He does get out, you know, we do get to have time with him, you know, while he's there, but that's not exciting time, you know, but we're trying to make the best of it.
Is Michaela Daddy's little girl?
Yep. He's literally torn from my rib.
Are you okay?
Was there anything specific that you said to her when you said goodbye to her today?
Where am I going?
To prison.
But what am I going to do?
You're gonna tell people about God.
The one thing that we continuously say since we found out, you know, it's not going to be a prison sentence. This is a missions trip. Mm-hmm. You know, it's easier said than done, but God is using this for something. We don't know what it is, but God's not intervening in what's going on with the appeal. Then He needs me there. Right? I'm in a place where I could potentially shine the light in the darkness where it's never been shined before.
Well, I gotta say, I mean, I'm just in awe of how you both are responding to this and the way that you're looking at it. It gives me hope, and it shows so much strength and so much faith.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just want you to know I appreciate it. It's very powerful. And God bless both of you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Bless you.
I want to have a good time with him. I don't want to cry the whole way up there, so I'm going to hopefully get it all out today. They stand by us, not because we go to a conservative church or, you know, we have all these conservative friends. It's because they know who he is. He is a person beyond this day. He is a person beyond his political beliefs.
We have faults, but Jesus died on the cross for us for that reason. So bring in the broken, bring in the damned, bring in everybody in the church.
And stand by them.
Stand by them.
Through their crap.
That's when you show who you are as a Christian, because that's showing the love of Christ.
Me and JD have been working together and filming together for about 5 years. I was working with JD in another company doing some J6 stuff, and the FBI kept contacting me to see what my involvements in some of these things were, which was nothing.
but I had to get out of it for my family. But once they sentenced JD to prison time, I felt like I had to get back in this game, and so here we are again, back on the road.
So it's time to come home.
Turn right, okay? Head north. I'm gonna do this.
Would you look at that?
Heavenly Father, we come to you, God. We ask you for peace in this anxious situation.
Yes.
God, we ask you for your grace, your favor over my husband. God, we pray that you just lead us in everything that we do from this moment forward, as you have been, God. We are your servants. We fully surrender to you in this process.
Surrender, Father. And I've asked you multiple times, Father God, what's next? What's next? What's next? This is it. So I walk it out in faith, Father God. I do this for you. I do this for my country. I do this for my family. God, I hope I can do well for you. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
It's never the end of the world, I promise you. 'Cause sometimes storms will come and go. But whatever happens, we will make it through. That is the truth.
God, you're in control. You know his heart. And I pray you cover him as he's here.
That's the hardest thing I've ever had to witness, is a family man like that, a Christian man like that, having to be separated from his children. Went inside, turned the camera on. Misdemeanor, 8 months in prison. It's a mix of sadness and just anger.
It's not necessary. It's wrong. It's every kind of injustice you can think of. It's just sick. You were a judge for a long time. Did you ever sentence anybody to 8 months in prison for misdemeanor trespassing?
No. The most serious thing most of the January 6 defendants are charged with is obstructing an official session of Congress.
1512, I think it is.
But if you go back to June of 2016, you had most of the Democrats in the House that obstructed an official session of Congress.
Rise up, Democrats. Rise up, Americans. This cannot stand. We will occupy this floor.
I didn't demand that their 21 hours of obstructing an official session of Congress should get them all put in prison the way they're demanding people that obstructed a session for 5 or 6 hours. They're demanding they all go to prison. Well, if we do that, then you should have been locked up for 21 hours of obstructing an official session of Congress.
Why do you think so few Republicans have had the courage to stand up and fight for the January 6th defendants?
I think to an extent it's just a calculation of how much trouble will I bring to myself and my family if I stand up for what's right.
The Capitol Police were coming after me. They conducted a criminal investigation on me because of my position on January 6th. I got 3 separate officers here. I think they were going in to they were going to try to find something to muzzle me, to shut my mouth. Because I've been a very vocal critic of what took place to Ashley Babbitt. You may not like it, you may not agree with it, but as an old law dog, sheriff of 8 years, what happened to Ashley Babbitt was murdered.
When you look at the type of person that she is, she didn't deserve to die that day. What were the rules of engagement that guy was under, who pulled that weapon and shot through a window and killed an unarmed person? just from my own experience as an FBI agent, as an investigator, as a SWAT team operator. It's an unarmed female. I don't know what the deadly force issue was that would cause somebody to pull the trigger.
We have footage of the police throwing a man off of the second story there and firing flashbangs and tear gas grenades into the middle of the crowd. What would be the reason to do that? Why wouldn't they be trying to keep the crowd from coming forward instead of firing into the middle of it?
Well, first of all, apparently that's not allowed by their code of conduct. So you're not supposed to use especially flashbangs. Well, what happens with the flashbang, it emits this huge flash of bright light and a huge bang sound, so it disables whoever they're trying to disable or attack. It's a very traumatic event, especially for veterans.
2 men had heart attacks.
That's right, and that's more information that's come out since January 6th, is you have first-hand accounts from first responders who tended to the 2 men who suffered fatal heart attacks, Kevin Greason, Benjamin Phillips.
So we're watching the flashbangs because they were like right on us, coming into the right, a little bit in front of us, some over our heads, and then one is coming right at us, and the flashbang blows up right between their heads. And I followed it right in with my phone. If you zoom in on my video, you can see where it burnt his face, right? And he screams, and then the other gentleman just dropped straight to the ground. Then he's laying on the ground, everyone's going around him, and then 10 minutes later, he was on a gurney and they were pulling him out of the crowd. And there was an EMT on the gurney giving him CPR and chest thrusts.
We know that Benjamin Phillips suffered a medical emergency right after 1 o'clock, right after the initial gate push. Face planted on the ground. They did CPR on him. He passed away.
They're bringing the patient up to the ambulance right now. They were refusing to come down.
The fact remains there is a huge trove of evidence of excessive force used by both of those police departments.
Oh, he's on fire! He's on fire!
The initial reports on Rosanne Boylan were that she died of a drug overdose, but since then, what more has come out about her death?
So the DC coroner finally said that her cause of death was related to an overdose of amphetamines. Well, she apparently was on ADD or ADHD medication, but she would have had to take 100 times whatever the regular dose is to even come close to an overdose. You just don't overdose on that. But what video shows, eyewitness accounts show, is that Rosanne Boylan very likely was first asphyxiated by this very dangerous chemical spray that DC Metro and Capitol Police were deploying in this enclosed space. Again, something that is not usually permitted by police officers, by their code of conduct. So what her companion said is that they could not breathe. It wasn't like a normal pepper spray. It was a very potent spray that police were using.
I can't fucking breathe. I can't breathe. Back up! I can't breathe. Stop!
And you could see the orange outside of that tunnel of what the spray looked like. So apparently she is starting to basically suffocate. Police then, it looks like, pushes this mob. People are tumbling over each other. People land on top of Rosanne Boylan.
And while I'm at the bottom of this pile with about 30 to 40 people on top of me, when Rosanne Boylan grabs my hand as we're getting crushed to death, literally crushed to death.
She's still on the ground. See her? Her foot. She's on the ground. You guys are being ruthless. You guys are being ruthless. Really, people.
Normally we'd just be able to get up and get away, but the police kept pushing more and more people on top of us. Over the radio, they're saying, give him hell, F him up, and that's exactly what they did.
Get out! I can't right now. Hold on. My legs are trapped. I have a hand. Please, I'm trying to save somebody.
I mean, I would be dead. I would be gone if it wasn't for Jake. He literally picked me up in his arms and pulls me out of the bottom of this pile.
She's basically face up at this point at the mouth of the tunnel, and her companion is screaming, she's dead, Rosanne, somebody please help us, help us.
She's dead! Please! I'm desperate! I need somebody! I need
Well, there's police right there, and then there's protesters trying to help her.
The media says she had a drug overdose, but of course the video shows her being gassed in the West Tunnel. Lila Morris hit her with a stick, while she lay unconscious on the ground.
I know that strike killed her because the entire 8 minutes I was trapped beside her, she had like a really pretty color in her skin. But when she got hit in the head, if you watch the video and you do the timing, she turns this very awful color purple.
This is when you see some of the protesters throwing things at police, throwing a crutch, trying to hit police because they're really trying an attempt to help her. You see then police start to drag her body back through this tunnel. Her shirt is all the way up. They're dragging her like an animal through this tunnel that's filled with this toxic gas. They go to another area. Later video shows they're trying to resuscitate her.
Pull red handle to open bag. Do not touch patient.
Don't touch the coffin.
Evaluating heart rhythm. No shock advised. Provide chest compression and rescue breath.
It was too late, and she's pronounced dead at 6:09 p.m. on January 6th. That's another story, completely buried, not investigated by the January 6th committee. They don't mention her name once in an 845-page report, nor do they mention Ashley Babbitt's name or the other two men who died. All they continue to do is a lie that police officers, like Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick,
killed by a blow to the head with a fire extinguisher,
died after being hit in the head with a fire extinguisher,
bludgeoned the fire extinguisher.
Now medical experts are saying that's not true, and the paper is backpedaling, admitting that it's possible he was never even hit at all.
After reviewing the previously withheld video evidence, we can tell you with certainty that Officer Sicknick was not beaten to death by Trump voters at the Capitol. The tape shows very clearly Brian Sicknick walking through the building in apparent health after the media told us for 2 years that he had been murdered.
What really happened to Brian Sicknick?
What really happened to Brian Sicknick, sadly, tragically, at the age of 42, he suffered at least 2 strokes caused by a blood clot near his brainstem. This was the official report of the DC coroner, saying that Brian Sicknick died of natural causes. He did not suffer an allergic reaction from any type of chemical spray. But that doesn't stop everyone from Joe Biden to congressional Democrats and the news media from shamefully exploiting this death. All they continue to do is a lie.
Over 100 officers were assaulted on that day. 5 officers died.
Who are these 5 officers who were, quote, killed that day? Now, they're counting Brian Sicknick, that's a lie. But who are the other 4? Well, those are 4 officers who killed themselves after January 6th, in some cases long after January 6th.
They fixate on the deaths that are not attributed to January 6th, the events of January 6th, while completely ignoring what these really horrific deaths of 4 Trump supporters that afternoon.
It's amazing the facts that we found that the world is completely unaware of. And I know that when they learn the truth about the deaths of January 6th, they'll want to get involved, they'll want to get motivated, they'll want to get active and say, we're sorry we didn't understand the reality because of what we were told. And that they'll want to be proactive in supporting these people. Listen, I have people that come up when they finally get it, they're crying, they're sad because they didn't pay attention for this long, and then all of a sudden they think, oh my gosh, I had no idea. It's not completely their fault. It's the media that we talk about. It's the government. Like we said, it's the committee. It's all these people that are saying these things, but we are called to witness for our friends and our family. And that's my purpose in this, is to expose the deaths and to demand accountability for the murders.
Did you know Ashley Babbitt before that day?
No, I had no idea who Ashley Babbitt was. I remember looking to my left and I saw Ashley, who I still had no idea who she was at the time, draped in an American flag and her backpack. I started following her down that hallway. She was walking alongside me, and we were the first initial ones there. We were in front of the speaker's hallway doors, and we conversed with the officers, Officer Yetter, amongst the other officers that were there. I asked if they needed water because they were covered in capsaicin powder. And, you know, Ashley was joking and talking with the officers. I had a laugh with the officers, and then the crowd just seemed to basically surge behind us, and then the whole room was full.
What was she saying to the cop during that video?
So she was telling them that they needed backup, that they needed help. She's basically yelling at these officers, telling them to do their jobs because they're just allowing Zachary Alam and others to break the windows out right in front of everybody and is allowing the crowd to continue to get ramped up.
What most people don't seem to know is what Ashley Babbitt was actually doing in that hallway.
Not only was she demanding the officers call for effing backup, and you know, yelling at them to get help and trying to actively help them and subdue people and telling the crowd to calm down, but she quite literally physically subdued and hit the biggest agitator in the entire room in the face, trying to stop him.
This has never really been shown. And this really shows what she was doing.
Yep.
And so there she is.
Grabbing and subduing Zachary Alam with her right hand, pulling him back with his backpack, and she actually hits him with a left hook, knocking his glasses off. But you never hear that from media. Instead, they're more interested in calling her a terrorist.
There's a gun! There's a gun! Hey, he's got a gun! He's got a gun!
You know, she's laying on the ground, I remember, and just watching her die. There's nothing we can do. He's, you know, the medic next to me is telling me to get a flashlight, and I turn my flashlight on, and we're trying to unravel her scarf to try and find where she was shot. And there's nothing we could do.
Flashlight! 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 Where's she hit? Where's she hit? Where's she hit? No! Help her! Help her! Help!
It was like the heaviest feeling of hopelessness that I think I've ever felt in my entire life. We're trying to help her, and you know, he found the bullet wound, and then the cops started pushing her off. They started pushing us all off of her, saying that it's their job to take care of her, it's their job to save her, and that we need to clear out so they can save her. And the cops just continue to stand there. They don't help her. She clearly needed her throat cleared from the blood, and they didn't do anything. They just let her bleed out, and that was it.
He's gonna fucking die! You wanna be next?
So it took them probably over 30 minutes to actually get an ambulance there and to wheel her out and to try and get her help. And they didn't even mention Ashley Babbitt once throughout all the hearings.
Right.
They didn't care to talk about any of the victims. I begged and I begged these people on the committee. I wrote them letters. I sent them emails saying, hey, let me testify. I have hours of footage that you guys would be interested in. You can have access to all of it. Just let me testify. And they didn't. I wasn't talked to by any federal agencies, by the Metropolitan Police Homicide Team. I wasn't even talked to by any congressman about witnessing one of the highest profile shootings that the entire world has ever seen. Nobody talked to me. That's so unconventional that somebody witnesses a homicide or a murder and they're not even talked to. There's no investigation follow-up, there's nothing. And then for them to put on this big show with the January 6th committee and not even have me as an eyewitness to anything, but you can put me on, you know, flight lists and you can mess with my personal life, but you're not even gonna have me go in and testify to what I saw that day. It's just absurd.
Within 2 minutes after Ashley was shot, ATF tactical unit revealed themselves inside the building. I actually captured their arrival. I was the only civilian there. I was being escorted out by a Capitol Police officer, a real tiny, petite girl. She did the oddest thing. She kept going, sir, do you feel safe right now? And I'm looking down, yeah, I'm fine. She was trying to distract me from what was over on my left side. She's trying to keep my attention on her. And then I heard the noise and I jerked my head over to the left, and as close as your shoes are right there to me, they're feverishly working on her. So she kept my attention, trying to get me out the door to not see this. Of course, I thought it was a guy. I turned my head back to the officer and I said, is he shot? She said, yes, he is. She thought he was a guy. And I said, who shot him? She said, we did. I said, why'd you shoot him? He pulled a gun on us. She didn't know. I mean, you know, it was, I've even got in my video that you can hear the audio of the chaos on the radio when the shot was fired. It was nuts. And of course, all the officers, their guns came out.
Get back in the hallway! Stop coming forward!
Are you going to use that on us? Are you going to use that on us?
Somebody fired shots in here, so we're clear to.
You're going to use that gun on us?
If one of you guys has a gun, then that's...
None of us have a gun.
Okay, thank you. That's why I'm trying to tell you, stand aside.
We got cameras.
So just as we get to the door, the EMT unit with the gurney was coming in, so we had to step aside, let them in, and she took me to the door. She said, you know, please be safe. I said, you too. And then when I walked out the south exit, that was the only remaining intact police barricade that was still up. So I was inside police barricade. So I walked down the wheelchair ramp, came around, posted up right in front of the door, turned camera on. 30 seconds later, the doors come open. 30 seconds after that, the gurney comes out, full tactical team escort out, and they start going down the ramp. And I followed straight down the ramp. And then you can hear me on the camera go, holy shit, it's a woman. Because then I could see her. And her head was turned over my way, and I knew she was dead.
She's not breathing, her heart's not working. They killed her.
Are you serious? Ashley Babbitt had no weapon. Ashley Babbitt was unarmed. When you hear Lieutenant Byrd in his interview with Lester Holt, he even claims, he said, I don't even know if it was a man or a woman going through the window. I couldn't see her hands. Couldn't see her hands. So he had no idea she was armed.
We put that to a panel of not just me, but my supervisor, who was a Ranger Battalion veteran. He was at Operation Red Wing. He was on HRT, the FBI's hostage rescue team. They make shoot, no shoot decisions for a living. That's what they do. That's literally why they're hired. And 9 others. We sat at this table and we all discussed it. And not one person thought that that was a good shoot. If you did that and you were an FBI agent, I would expect that you'd be brought up on charges.
If those individuals had come through that door while Congress members were in the chamber, they would have died. Once it was cleared, use of force changes. By Capitol Police training, their actual training is they cannot use deadly force to protect property.
I think it's a tragedy. I think what happened to Ashley Babbitt, you can't justify it. She landed right here. She landed at my feet. Lieutenant Byrd is hiding behind that one of those pillars, those columns over there. She jumped through, he's over there. He takes the shot. Poor thing she ever saw him.
If Pittman would have given Chief Son 21 TD 159, Ashley Babbitt would be here. If Pittman would have helped when we were trying to defend the building before the breach occurred, Ashley Babbitt would be here. When I decided to evacuate the Senate, if Pittman would have helped me evacuate the House, Ashley Babbitt would be here. Ashley Babbitt is gone because of Yogananda Pittman. There's no question in my mind. And once the proper investigative entities actually do the investigation, it'll show it clearly.
I'm Mickey Woodhoff. I'm Ashley Babbitt's mother, and I'm here in D.C. because I want an investigation into what happened to my daughter and the men and women that were here on January 6, 2021.
Did she talk to you about, before January 6th, about that she was going to go?
No.
No.
No, but it didn't surprise me. She went to Trump rallies, and she very much was politically, motivated and had very strong political opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I was just living my happy housewife life. And I'm like, that's why I sometimes when I think about American people and the fact that if things don't affect them, they just go on with life and don't engage in things that would otherwise, be troublesome for them. Because I think that, a couple years ago, I was that person, and I would have never believed our government was capable of the things I know they're capable of today. When they say ignorance is bliss, I know what they're talking about, because I was definitely, I lived in California. I was just, sunshine and happiness. And then, when life falls apart, it falls with a bang. And then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people don't want to look at it.
Right.
You don't want to think that that can happen.
Right.
And you're living through it.
Well, and there's so many people that have forgotten about January 6th, and a lot of people that would suggest that we forget about January 6th. But I would say that that's a day that the United States of America attacked American citizens. They killed them, they beat them, and now they have jailed and suppressed them and thrown away the key, and that's absolutely not okay. And I know that as I sit here and I say that Americans just want to live their lives, I believe that's true, but I also think that it has been so suppressed by the media and underreported and exactly what has happened that I think that if more American people were aware of exactly what did happen, more of us would be upset.
She enlisted at a very young age.
At a very young age. She was committed to the Air Force when she was 17. She didn't actually leave till she was 18, but she was deployed 4 times to the Middle East and was a combat veteran, and she went away a little girl and came back otherwise.
There was a sea of nothing but red, white, and blue, and Patriots and Trump. And it was amazing to get to see the president talk. We are now walking down the inaugural path.
The irony of her being in so many dangerous situations in service of this country, willingly putting her life on the line for this country, to come back and go to a Trump rally and come home in a box is just unacceptable. Unacceptable.
From your perspective, was your daughter murdered?
My daughter was absolutely murdered. Ashley was a true American patriot, and she loved this country. I've not seen my daughter actually be shot, but what I did see is her face go from anger to fear. I saw, you know, that split second where she realizes that these people are not there to help her. Those police are not there to help her. And I do see something come over her face from being angry that these police won't help to fear when she realized exactly who was around her.
Mm-hmm. Tell us about what you're doing now, what you've been doing.
Right now we are in DC. We've been in DC since August 1st, and we hold a candlelight vigil outside the DC jail every night to stand in solidarity and sing the national anthem with the men that are in there being denied their constitutional rights, many of them without trial, many of them in pretrial detention for 230 days plus.
When the guys call in and they just get to talk to everybody and they get to tell their story, it's very powerful. It's very moving.
My name's James McGrew. I'm a combat veteran. I served in Iraq. I've been sentenced to 78 months for my involvement in January 6th.
And I think that that's maybe the most important thing that I saw last night, is just sort of giving these guys a way to speak about it. And it also focuses, like you said, it brings focus to what's happening in there. And I think the more American people see what's going on, that's the best way to change things, is to shine more light on it.
And I do believe, I think if more American citizens were aware of the fact that we have pretrial detainees, that they've been sitting behind bars for 2 years without a trial, I don't think American people would approve of that in the least.
Do you get any resistance at your rallies? Do you get sort of counter-protesters?
We do. We've had several counter-protesters. They don't have a message. Their message is they don't want us to be here. And I believe a lot of them are paid by somebody to be out there because they come in, it's like they're clocking into a job, they stay for an hour and then they go.
Why are you taking my picture? Why are you taking my picture? I'm asking you a question.
I have one particular girl that's obnoxious and just hateful to me and specifically. And she says things like, you know, Ashley Babbitt deserved to die. Thank God for Michael Byrd. Different ones scream different things, but it's all obnoxious. Some nights they don't show up. They're very fair weather protesters. They don't come in the rain. They don't come when it's too cold. And usually if we see them in the courtroom that day, that means they won't be out there at night because they have no stamina. It's a public sidewalk we're on, so we have had quite a few people down there. And I feel like our truth is our truth, so it doesn't matter to me who I say it to.
Right. And how long have you been doing that?
Since August 1st, we're like 260 consecutive nights of standing outside the DC jail to try to draw attention to this.
260 nights.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really become your life, hasn't it?
I talk oftentimes about a dream I had about Ashley.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So Ashley had come to me, and as soon as I was able to sleep, and in my dream she had been arrested, and we were in a room with a whole bunch of prisoners, and that was the very first I was aware that there were political prisoners, because I was still like, I hadn't gotten out of bed or turned on the TV, and she told me in the dream, she's like, these are the people we need to worry about because I'm a goner, because in my dream she had been sentenced to death. She's like, they're going to kill me, Mom. And I was like, get in my purse. Let's get the hell out of here. And she was like, no, just tell them you didn't do it. She's like, I won't say I didn't do it. And I'd do it again. And so her crime in my dream was shooting a red, white, and blue rocket around the moon. That's what she had been arrested for. And that's what they were going to kill her for. And so that dream made me aware that there were other people involved in this. I mean, that sounds so uninformed to just think. But at the time, I was just in my own, hell, really.
Grief.
Yeah. And so I just had heard myself say out loud several times and in my head that, if Ashley hadn't been shot that day, that she would be fighting for the rights of these citizens and fighting for the rights of her fellow Americans, and she'd be on the steps of the jail till it was over. So that's how the vigil at the jail got started. But they were very much singing the national anthem already when we came here.
Did you always close the vigil with them singing like
yes,
that?
Yeah. that's how we do.
Yeah.
We sing with them at 9, and then the neighbors thank us for packing up and going home.
This is the building that our guys are in here.
Yeah.
If you look just above the barbed wire, the whole first row is our guys.
My cell was the second one right there to the left, one lit up. We used to call that the Obama suite, cell 44. My boy Carl was in the Trump suite to the left, cell 45. So I had the Obama suite.
Yeah.
About 3.5 months in there. It's surreal. I can't believe they're in there. Jeff McKellop, Shane, John are all in there.
Everybody's outside right now. Mickey and a whole bunch of other people are outside. Julian's going to lead a prayer. And then we're going to do what we do every night at 9 o'clock, is sing the national anthem.
I'd like to pray for our broken nation, O God. May every soul come to know the love and grace of your only Son, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He is the good shepherd. He is the true vine, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David and the bright morning star. He is the way and the truth and the life. Thank you, Lord, for opening the eyes of so many people in this country and the world. May we always let our light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify you, and only you, our loving Father who art in heaven.
3, 2, 1.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
It's an incredible moment. It's an incredible thing to be there and hear them sing. And I wish everyone would do that. I wish everyone would sing with those guys.
Not everybody can be down there on Freedom Corner with us, but everybody can stop what they're doing at 9 p.m. Eastern and sing the national anthem with these men. And if you don't sing so swell and you don't want to actually sing, you can stand up and get near a flag and at least acknowledge the moment.
Yeah. What do you think that would mean to you if Americans got up and sang at 9 o'clock every night?
I think that it would honor these men in a way they deserve to be honored, and let them know that their service to this country is ongoing, and we appreciate them for it.
What does this cost you?
It has cost me everything, just everything. I have a very fragmented family. I don't have a home to go back to. I don't have, my cat, my houseplants, literally, just we have a, and that's, it's shaken my foundation. It's really, things I believe to be true aren't true. My only daughter has been murdered, and nobody has to answer for that. And that will take you to such a bitter place that you really have to have people around you to keep you grounded. But when something this horrible happens so publicly, it affects people in ways that you just can't imagine.
You're a hero to me.
Oh, thank you.
God bless you.
God bless you too.
Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
We love you, Mickey.
Love you, Mickey. Love you, Mickey.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Sarah breaks my heart. Just because she's so young, and they have so much of their lives that have been disrupted by this, and it just is heartbreaking. I don't know, listening to Tommy talk about Roseanne, I mean, it just gets to be overwhelming sometimes. There's only so much time and so much film in the world and so much time you can put people on screen and so many stories you can tell. There's just so much of it. Just so much.
I'm Doug Sweet. I'm from Matthews County, Virginia. I got a text from Donald Trump asking all patriots to show up. And I said, well, I consider myself a strong patriot. When he dismissed the crew at the end of his speech,
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
went to the Capitol, and what we saw was appalling. It was absolutely such a contrast to what we left. We left a family atmosphere of people having a great time, and we walked into a veritable war zone. I was appalled. There was shot grenades going off all over the place. There was thousands of people on the lawn, or probably hundreds of thousands of people that were just like me, that were looking like, what in the world is going on here? And I looked in up the steps of the Capitol, and I saw these little ninja characters dressed in black fighting the police, and I'm like going, whoa, that's not a Trump supporter. They're all Antifa. And that was my first thought. It's like, man, we got to go up there and help these cops out, man. They're getting their butts handed to them. And God told me to go. And he meant go inside that building. And I did. There was a huge crowd in front of me, and I made the choice to follow what God tells me to do. So I moved. I went in. I was praying the whole way in. And it felt like God's hand was on my back, pushing me through a crowd which a normal person could not go through. I know I had an appointment inside that Capitol. You know, I didn't go there to destroy anything. I went there to support my president. And I've never been arrested for destroying anything. That's not me at all.
What have you been arrested for?
Trespassing. I've only been arrested that one time at the Capitol for trespassing and parading, which I wasn't parading. I just walked in. That's the people's house. These little facts roll through my mind later. It didn't roll through the fact. Then we weren't going to see the House or Senate, period. So we told the officers, well, we can't go back because we saw a steel door come down. We're trapped. So I guess y'all are just going to have to arrest us. So they detained us. And that was at 2:45 when we had the handcuffs put on. And we didn't get let out of there until 7:30 that night. When they let us out the tunnel, it's a congressional tunnel that runs from the Capitol downstairs. As we proceeded down this tunnel, within the first 100 feet, I started noticing clothes piled up. And I noticed they were thicker and thicker and thicker. Everything was black. And I'm like, that's kind of strange. Then I started noticing 3 arrows pointed down at a 45-degree angle on balaclavas that hide your whole face. I know that's an Antifa sign. I've seen it too many times before. I saw enough clothing in the tunnel that if you were to put these clothes on standing people, you would probably have a crowd of 300 to 400. Some of the guys that were with my group, I knew who they were when I saw them, and I think they were called Seven Hills Antifa out of Richmond. What the first thing that Bruno said to them was, y'all be quiet. He was talking to the 3 Antifas, and don't you say a word to these people. They did exactly what Officer Bruno told them to do. They didn't say one word. So these guys remained with us till we exited the tunnel when we were put into the paddy wagon to go that last block. The watch commander that night, he came out with a pair of thick snippers and snipped all three of the Antifa's zip ties off of them and told them they could leave without charge. The girl that was with me, Cindy, got thrown against the wall and got her glasses broken by one of the cops. Now, Cindy doesn't remember a darn thing about January 6th. She just remembers kind of the next day going home and thinking, what did I do? Now, the three Antifas got at it. I knew who they were. She was different. In fact, this is what I remember about my first encounter with her. She was across the hall from me, and I tried to lock eyes with her to say, you know, kind of speak without saying a word, and she looked down, and I'm like, she wouldn't make eye contact, but she'd been beaten too, it looked like to me.
As Doug began to describe this woman, I started to get a feeling that he might have been describing someone we had already worked with, Victoria White.
What color shirt was she wearing?
A red shirt.
I was there. She was with us. She was jailed with us. She was taken out of the tunnel with us. She was led to a cell, and I think she was released. I never knew who she was or what she had done, but she was very disheveled. This woman looked like she was absolutely abused, and she was very quiet. And yes, I could attribute that to shock.
Vicky? Yeah? It's Chris Burgard, ma'am. How are you?
I'm been better, but I'm hanging in there. How are you?
Good. I got some questions for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'm sitting here, we're filming with my friend Doug, who was arrested and held on January 6th for several hours before they processed him. And he's thinking that maybe you might have been the woman that they added to the group. Victoria, meet Doug. Doug, this is Victoria.
Hi, Doug.
Victoria,
Were you in a vest? A black leather vest?
yes, I know it's you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were very disheveled, and I didn't know quite what to think. I didn't know what you'd been through.
I was so in like survival mode. I tried not to make eye contact with anyone. I was just trying to like survive because I was in horrible pain.
That's her.
Yes,
She's wearing the red.
that's her. That's her.
You want to see how much they beat her?
Probably not, but I'm going to watch it anyway.
Okay, here we go. She's right down in this area.
My,
That's the baton that's hitting her.
holy crap.
See? And so,
What in the...
now he's hitting her with an open fist. He's now punching her. I don't know if he broke the tie and lost it, but then he starts hitting with this.
My... Why? She's not even fighting back. I knew something happened to her, and I didn't know which side she was on. I had no idea. Now I know. Now I know she's on my side. And man, I feel terrible that that happened to her, and you want to do something about it.
I would describe myself as a mother, a Christian.
So you were in Washington on January 6th.
Yep.
Right.
Mhm.
Why did you go to Washington?
It was a last minute thing. I was asked by my friend if I wanted to go and said yeah. And so
my oldest daughter wanted to come. And
Who are these people in the picture with you?
on the left in the white is my friend Larvita, and then myself, and then my oldest daughter, Tatiana.
And so when you got there that day, what was the feeling you had on that morning?
It was one of the best, actually. After being in lockdown so long and people being forced to wear masks, this was different. You saw a lot of people who felt a lot like me, proud of your God-created face, no mask, and just a feeling of like we all had the same kind of beliefs and, we loved freedom.
We're from Minnesota and we're out here to support our president and our country.
Trump!
Minnesota!
Yeah, it was a happy feeling.
That was my experience too, is that the people there were praying and
Yep.
saying the Pledge of Allegiance and just sort of a very patriotic, people of faith sort of feeling.
Yep, it was.
So as you approached the Capitol, where did you wind up and what happened?
So when we get close to the Capitol, you just see a massive amount of people. I didn't see any signs that said, do not enter or anything.
Or restricted area.
No restricted area, none of that. There were just people everywhere. Same type of thing that we saw at the Ellipse, where people just were singing patriotic songs, people praying. And, the closer you go, the more packed it gets. And you're just weaving in and out of people.
Mm-hmm.
So my friend and I, we see a staircase that goes up to the next tier. And it's really narrow. So there's a line of people. And it had stopped because someone else is coming down the stairs. So as we stop, my friend, she starts looking at her phone. When the line starts moving, I move with the line. And then as I get to the top and I look back, I'm like, my friend's still down there. I'm like, I said her name and I yelled for her. But the line keeps, people are coming up and pushing.
You were kind of getting pushed along.
So as I'm standing up there and I hear, Antifa, Antifa. And I'm like, I look, and here's this man. He has his helmet on that looks like he just plopped a Trump bumper sticker on his green helmet.
Right.
And he's trying to hit the window out. So I immediately think like, oh my gosh, why is everyone just saying Antifa, Antifa? No one's stopping him. So I run and I managed to grab the window breaker and push him down. I'm like, we don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that. So as I'm doing that, people are like, we're all on the same side. I'm like, no, we're not. We don't do that. So as I'm yelling and I'm like, get him the H out of here. I was really cussing. I was just really mad.
So it upset you when you saw him breaking the window?
Oh, yeah.
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 And you wanted to stop it.
Yes. Someone's doing something bad to give us a bad name.
Right. Right.
So as I'm trying to get him down, and I'm like, get him out of here. And I'm telling other people, because, there's men in the crowd,
Right.
I'm like, get him out of here. So as I'm doing this, there's another man who, when I'm doing this, he's behind me and reaching into his backpack, and he pulls out the exact same type of weapon that the first man was using. It wasn't the first man's, it was his own.
Mm-hmm.
And so he pulls it out, and he must have brushed up against me because I go to turn around. And as I go to turn around, the woman's like, no, he's not going to do nothing. And next thing I know, I'm like, here, and here he is trying to break out the window. So I go to reach to go to grab him, and these men pull me back. And as they're pulling me back, I manage to get my hand loose, and I pull this guy's backpack and I yank him down. So as these men are pulling me off, I'm in shock and I realize oh my gosh, because these men just pulled me off, first of all. And then second of all, comes the shouts and get that effing beep out of here, throw her in the window. And then I get scared.
Mm-hmm.
So I had noticed earlier, before the breaking of the window incident happened, that there was a man from Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
and he was up on another level. So there's another terrace. And so after that happened, I see this archway, and I'm like, oh, that's another area to go to the next level, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And then the crowd is so I'm just trying to stay up and alive. Next thing I know from the force of the crowd is that I'm in now the tunnel.
So the crush of the crowd forced you into the tunnel. So if you would just talk me through this as much as you can.
So there's me with the water bottle, and I'm trying to hand it to somebody. And it's so jam-packed mush. I'm almost gonna be trampled. And my hat falls off, and I'm pushing just to even keep my head up.
All right, what happens to you now?
They're pushing,
Yeah.
everyone's pushing. The police are spraying at the people.
So they're taking you into the tunnel.
It's just, look at them push.
Yeah.
They're pushing into the tunnel.
So after you get in the tunnel, what happens?
Well, besides I get super maced, there was an officer up on a ledge, and he was just going to town. And then there's the other officer who seems to target me.
He singled you out.
Yeah,
Do you know why? Was there any sort of reason that
I
you
have no
could-
idea. I mean, I don't know.
And so when he singled you out, what happened? What did he do?
And he started beating me with a metal collapsible baton. The first blow, it's like I blacked out. I thought maybe I got hit like 3 times. So it wasn't until I finally saw the video that I saw how bad it was. Like, I know I got hit, and I know at one point I said to one of the officers, like, you took an oath to the Constitution. They called me the B word, and I got hit again. And I know I was just trying to stay up and grab onto whatever I could to not slip and fall and be crushed. And
Have you seen the footage of you being beaten?
Mhm.
Do we have that?
This is the first part.
No, this is the body cam from one of the officers.
Right.
That's me in the red.
That's you?
Yeah.
In the red.
Yep. And this is new body camera footage that came out that was actually withheld from my discovery from my attorney.
So she's trying to get out, and he grabs her, pulls her back in, and then slams her face.
Oh my God. So they grabbed you, pulled you back in.
And then after they did that, they like ping ponged me between each other. Officers pushed me backward between themselves, and then they end up taking me in, and my shoes had fallen off. My coat had fallen off because many times I'm almost falling to the ground.
You're bleeding.
Yeah. They say that I was aggressive towards the police, and that because I grabbed onto a police shield, or that I put my hand on my head to try to stop the baton blows, that I was being aggressive toward police, and that they want to even put an enhancement on that. So
So you were guilty of attacking the
apparently
police.
that's what they're trying to make it out
You're attacking his baton with your
with my head.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, this must have been, you probably have some kind of PTSD from that, I would think. I mean, it sounds like just an incredibly traumatic experience.
Yeah. And one that I have to continue to live every day because it's been 2 years. And even some of the video that's come out, the body cam footage and stuff, like, they won't let us see our discovery. And it's not just me, all the January 6ers. That's why we asked that the video be released publicly, because they can't claim that they're going to give it to us and then not, or, which is what some of them are saying. Oh, your attorneys can get it. Yeah, we made sure. No, they still can't. That's a lie.
Were you arrested? Did they come and arrest you after this when you got back home to Minnesota? How did that occur?
In April of 2021, I believe it was April 8th. I had been sleeping in the living room and the window was open a crack, to let fresh air in. And all of a sudden I hear like boom, 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 boom. Like they knock. You can't, like, once you hear it, it's so different. It's
It's not a knock at the door, it's a pounding.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I jumped up and it was like 5 something early in the morning. And they're like, the Victoria, we have a warrant for your arrest. You need to come out. And I'm like, and my daughters had jumped up and I'm like, because they're just loud and they're just persistent with their knocking and banging. And then I happen to look out the window and I see all these cop cars and unmarked cars, and then you have the Rochester Police Department, and then you have the FBI agents, and then you have them not just at my house, but you have them surround my freaking block, and you have them come to my house and my daughters are sleeping. And I was like one of the lucky ones that they didn't like just push and ram into my house like in like so many January 6ers, and they bust down people's doors and they drive tanks on their lawns for the military men, and they hold their wives and their kids at gunpoint. And it doesn't matter. Guess what? There's so many of us that we're not just white, we're mixed, and we have families that are all types of nationalities, and they don't care because they've already labeled and marked us, and that's the situation that we're in. And my daughters are worth me speaking out, even though it hurts. So I'm speaking out, and I'm using the most powerful thing that we have, and that's why we have the First Amendment first, because our voice is very powerful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you have your trial pushed to the September of this year. Are you going to go to trial? Have they offered you a plea deal of some sort?
Yep, they offered me a plea deal. But I almost took it, but then I changed my mind. Yeah.
And do you remember exactly what the plea deal was they offered you? What they asked you to plead guilty to?
Yeah, to the felony.
They want you to plead guilty to the worst charge. Yeah. And you considered doing it.
Because I wanted to be done with all this.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. What made you decide to not take that plea deal, to fight it?
I went to DC and for my plea hearing, and I stayed with Mickey, Ashley Babbitt's mom, who I love, and I went down to the Freedom Corner where they're outside the jail every night, and I heard the guys on the phone, and I was there, and I couldn't take the plea. I keep going for them.
Hang on to you. Hang on to me. Hang on to all the people, places, things, and inspiring you to breathe. So hang on. They crush the thoughts that you think that are different than what they said. You know the ways you're so unique, and difference not really so bad. You blur the lines, color outside, even paint the background red, and that color fills in our empty hearts and heads. Hang on to you, hang on to me, hang on to all the people, places, things, inspiring you to breathe. Hang on to right now. Please listen loud. Today may not have all you want, but tomorrow may give you all you need. So hang on. It's alright, you're alright, I'm alright too. So go all in, I promise something good's on the horizon.
Heavenly Father, lift this woman up, Father. Fill her with the full armor of God, Lord. Let angels come descend her and protect her, Lord. You saved this woman, Lord. She could have been trampled in that crowd. She fought for her life. She tried to get air. They pulled her back in. They beat her, and she stood, Father. She didn't go back to the ground. She stood. Bleeding, they dragged her in. She's still standing. Ashley didn't make it. Roseanne didn't make it. But you saved Victoria for a purpose, Lord. You saved this woman. You've called her to a higher purpose, Lord. Now I ask you to protect her. I ask you to lift her up. I ask you to fill her with the strength she needs to look the enemy in the eye and say, no more. This is where we take our stand.
American needs to look and search their heart and search their family and say, how long are we willing to tolerate this? How long are we willing to allow Washington, D.C. to tell us what type of lives we're going to live?
I'm actually thrilled to be alive in this season because it is a refiner's fire. I can look in front of me and to my right, and I know that I'm in a foxhole with men I can trust because we've already been tested. You didn't run. We're ready for the next onslaught, and we know we'll stand strong. We've gotten stronger. We're anti-fragile. And to think, well, you know, it's a one world government, it's unstoppable. They are a gnat on the butt of an elephant. God holds the heavens in the span of his hand. A sparrow doesn't fall from the sky without his full knowledge. God will squish them like a bug. He is waiting. If my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways of apathy and inactivity and self-reliance, then I will hear from heaven and heal their land.
And I pray for Ashley Babbitt and her family that they can see justice one day for Ashley, because that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for truth and we're fighting for justice. I ask these in your name, I pray. Amen.
Hang on to you, hang on to me, hang on to all the people, places, things, inspiring you to breathe. Hang on to right now. Please listen loud. Today may not have all you want, but tomorrow may give you all you need. So hang on.
Last time I was here, there were hundreds of people on these stairs waving flags and saying, this is our country. This is our house. It's still our house. Stop being afraid, people. Stand up for what you believe in. Stop letting them intimidate you.
After many months of Christopher Wray not returning our phone calls or our emails, Nick and I decided that it was time for us to talk to Christopher Wray face to face.
Don't think.
Hey, can I help you?
Yes, sir. Are y'all open today?
Not today, we're not. What you need to see?
Director Wray.
No, he's not here today.
Could I leave him a message?
What's that?
Well, do you think we're making a documentary? We've been hoping he could be in the film for us. So we just want to know if he can make time in his schedule to be in the film.
Well, I can't give him the message. You got to call to the public relations department.
Yeah, we called and left a message.
We did that for a couple months. Could you ask him if he's still investigating me for making the last movie?
No, I'll see what we do about that.
I appreciate that, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have a blessed day, sir. Thank you.
Well, looks like he's not going to talk to us.
That's truly disappointing.
He'd just say the same lies to us that he said to Congress.
You know, all that's necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Are you going to do nothing? Or are you going to stand with us?
According to 18 U.S. Code Section 4, it is a legal requirement that anyone who has knowledge of a felony committed within the jurisdiction of the United States must promptly disclose. Failure to do so may result in fines, imprisonment for a maximum of 3 years, or both. Today, I want to officially state that I am reporting the deaths of Ashley Babbitt, Roseanne Boylan, Kevin Greason, and Benjamin Phillips. It is crucial that these deaths are thoroughly investigated to ensure justice is served. I implore you to not remain passive observers, but to hold those responsible for these injustices accountable. It is imperative that we restore faith in our justice system and safeguard the rights of all individuals involved in January 6th. Thank you.
Yes, it's time to come clean. A lot of J6 families are hurting. Some families got suicides since it's J6. You need to come clean. America deserves the answers to the real J6.
Forza and ad Deus et Gloria. Strength, and to God be the glory in all things.
Hello. Thank you for watching The War on Truth. If you found this film important or moving or educational, please consider making a small donation or a large donation to the people who invested in it and made it possible. This film was rejected by every major streaming platform, and they all said the same thing. It's too political. Because we all know they never show political films, do they? So we know what that's about. So our only chance is for you to help spread the word. Please send this film to your friends and your family. Please donate to the cause below. And thank you for watching. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.